The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me? You're me, Louie T. Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I, of course, am your Commander-in-Chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. The schedule is out. Woo! I get excited about this. I don't know why I get so excited. But this schedule is crazy. What the fuck? Okay. We will dive into this schedule brick by brick, piece by piece, week by week, and really go through this thing with a fine-tooth comb as we always do. But first, the Washington Commanders did sign a receiver today. So I want to talk about that a little bit and kind of handle a little bit of house cleaning first. So yesterday, we talked about this briefly, but Washington released quarterback Jake Fromm, which meant they had an extra roster spot to play with. Now, here's something, I always try to impart a little knowledge on you, drop a gem on your melon or two when I can. I think this is one of those situations where I'm going to try to drop a gem on your melon real quick. So many of you get caught up in the who all the time, right? Focus less on the who and focus more on the why and the what, okay? So yesterday, in lieu of the Jake Fromm news, Washington, and this started circulating social media, Washington was going to be working out Martavis Bryant, the former Pittsburgh Steeler, Vegas Raider, wide receiver. Cowboys signed him last year. Dude hasn't been relevant in like 6 years, 7 years. He got, banished for the league for a little bit because he couldn't stay out of trouble. And then he got reinstated, never really had the impact that he once did when he was a member of the Killer Bees in Pittsburgh with Ben, Brown, Bell, and himself, Bryant, right? The Killer Bees. He was never that guy again, right? Dallas kicked the tires last year. We never saw him, okay? So I don't know where he is in his career, what he still has left in the tank. I don't care. So many people got caught up. I was on social media. One guy was like, we can't let this demon leave the building. And they showing a clip from like 2018. And I'm like, bro, what the F are you talking about? Don't let this demon leave the building. Go find me a clip from a year ago, 2 years ago. You can't. There isn't any. What are you talking about? Don't let this demon leave the building. People get on my nerves. Anyway, so many of you got caught up in, Washington's working out Martavis Bryant. Why are they doing this? Oh, my God. And I'm like, what are you getting worked up about? You're paying attention to the wrong thing. You think he was the only guy that they brought in on a Wednesday for a workout? No. They have what you should be focusing in on is what position he plays. Okay, of all the positions they could have searched, for through free agents that are left, of all the positions that they could have combed through and said, hey, we want to work out 3 or 4 of these. So many of you are so worked up about tackle. They got a free spot open after releasing Jake Fromm. Why not go work out 3 tackles? Y'all love how we look at corner? I don't know if you do or you don't. Why not work out a couple corners? Ask yourself, not who they working out, but what position they working out. And then ask yourself this, why? Why, after having rookie minis and then bringing the veterans in and having an OTA, immediately thereafter, you get a look at the entire group. Why do you go and you search out some receivers? Ask yourself, why? To hell with Martavis Bryant, why are they looking at receivers one day after OTAs with everybody coming together after having a chance to see the rookies up close and personal and to see the veterans? One day afterwards, hey, let's go scour the wide receiver free agent market and see what's left. That's what you should be asking yourself. Not so much fixated on the who, but the why and the what. They ended up signing Damiere Byrd, former Carolina Panther, Atlanta Falcon. He's been around the block a couple of times. He's 31 years old. He can fly now. He can flat out fly. He can run, okay? But he's not going to be a true difference maker, right? But in this brand new world that we exist in the NFL now with these new rules on the kickoff, you need a guy. I've been talking about this. I still don't know who that guy is because we're not putting 97-year-old Jamison Crowder back on kickoff returns. I can stomach it on punt returns, okay? I can't put him. You're not gaining an advantage by putting 97-year-old Jamison Crowder back there on kickoffs. Sorry, you're not. But Damiere Byrd may give you an advantage back there as a kickoff, and he can be a punt returner as well. So again, ask yourself not who, but why. And of all the positions, why this one? Ask yourself, what are they doing here? That's what I'm more fixated on. They're not settled at the receiver position. They don't love what they currently have is what they're telling us. Now, I'm not telling you they hate it. I'm not telling you they dislike their wide receiver position. I'm just telling you they don't love their receiver position. Or try this one on for size. They don't love the options that they have at kick returner, punt returner, etc. Just a little food for thought. You do the dishes. Again, I still think, and I'm not moving off the spot, I think 4 guys are already safe at receiver. Many people think it's only 3. Those 3 are Terry, Jahan, and Luke McCaffrey. A lot of people think after that, all hell breaks loose. I'm going to go out on a limb. I don't know how strong of a limb it is. I think it's a pretty sturdy limb. That's just me, though. And I'm adding Dyami Brown to that mix. No, he has not had the type of career to this point that most of us would like a 3rd-round pick to have had. And yes, I am fully aware that this group did not draft Dyami Brown. But just like Benjamin St-Juste, with 1 year left on his rookie contract, what sense does it really make to cut Dyami Brown when you have Olamide Zaccheaus, Jamison Crowder, and Damiere Byrd as guys that are fighting for a roster spot? It's not like you're cutting Dyami Brown because you've got this wealth of talent at receiver and you don't want to cut one of these young guys because you don't think he's going to clear waivers. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So I think Dyami's safe, and I think you've got probably 4 receivers right now fighting over maybe roughly 2 roster spots when it's all said and done. That's what it feels like to me. Because if you're keeping 6, I think there's already 4 guys here, obviously assuming health, that are going to be here. And then I think you move on from there, right? But we'll see. Anyway, I digress. Okay, let's get to why you came here. Let's get to why you showed up tonight and what you really, truly want to talk about, okay? Let's get to the schedule. Birdman and Rob, Bart Scott. Can't wait. So sorry about that. Almost left y'all just that quick. So here's the thing. First thing I always look at, I tell you this all the time. First thing I told y'all that I look at when I see a schedule. How many primetime games we got? Where's the bye week? So 2 things I was right about. I was right about week 1. We're going to be on the road. It felt like we were due for a roadie, right? I talked about we hadn't been on the road since 2019. Okay. So it felt due, long overdue to be on the road, week 1. So we're on the road. I said two primetime games. We got 2 primetime games. Okay. So those were the 2 things that I was right about. Pretty much everything else, I was flat out dead ass wrong. Yo, T, you're dead wrong. Okay. They jerked us on the bye week. Again. What in the hell is going on? What did we do? What do you mean, what did we do? What did we do? Right? I don't know what else to say, man. I was assured that this year would be the year that we'd get a reasonable buy. And they told us once again to kick rocks. This is a brutal schedule, by the way. Now, I want to say this too. I want to say this. I've talked about the defense this year. And this is something that I was looking at this morning. This morning, I was taking a look at the video from yesterday that I did. And, it had the home and away opponents on it. So, we knew who we were playing. We just didn't know when and how it would be set up and all of that good stuff. And I was looking at the list of teams and I said, well, God damn, these are some good quarterbacks. This isn't one of those years where, back in the day, old Jack Del Rio could get by with his, great third down defensive luck, right? Where we find a way to have a team screw up on third down, right? Or we bat a pass in the air or something lucky for us. A guy drops a pass and somehow we are able to get off the field at a very high clip and be one of the best third down teams defensively in the league. And it makes our defense actually look like it's good when we know the truth, right? This ain't one of them years, all right? It ain't a bunch of Nick Mullins on this list, right? It ain't a bunch of Ryan Finleys for us to take advantage of like it was in those years, right? Ain't no Teddy Bridgewaters to save us this time, all right? You look at this list of teams and these quarterbacks, if they're healthy, and you go, man, this shit is brutal. If what I've said throughout this offseason rings true, they're going to earn it. And I said, this is going to be a really good defense that's going to be competitive and it's going to keep us in ball games. And if that is going to, in fact, ring true, they're going to earn it. This isn't going to be one of the years where they're going to be able to skate off the fact that they're playing lackluster quarterbacks who can't tell Adam from Eve and are going to give us an opportunity to look like we're a competent NFL defense. We're playing some of the best quarterbacks in football this year. All right. And even the ones that aren't some of the best, they're damn good, right? They're at least serviceable, like Baker Mayfield in week 1. He's no slouch, okay? Caleb Williams, I think he's going to be damn good, and he's going to be rocking by the time we get to him in week 8. I wanted him early before he figured some shit out. He's going to be, settled in by week 8. Hell, even Will Levis. We don't know what Will Levis is, but he showed last year that he could be a problem in this league. These are some of the lesser quarterbacks. But this schedule has Kirk Cousins on it. I know you may not think highly of Kirk Cousins. We haven't beat him since he left here. Okay? So you can say what you want about him, but we haven't beaten him since he left. And we've seen him multiple times. We're going to be playing against Lamar Jackson, Joseph Burrow, Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray. Obviously, you got the teams in the division. So that's Jalen Hurts twice. That's Dak Prescott twice. Don't know who's going to be starting for the Pittsburgh Steelers by the time we get to week 10. But if it's Russell Wilson or if it's Justin Fields, we made Justin Fields look like Patrick Mahomes last year. And even though we beat Russell Wilson, he shitted on us last year as well. He took a large dump on us as well. So this is a tough schedule. Not to mention Derek Carr, if he's starting by the time we get to the Saints in week 15, it's a pretty good quarterback schedule to say the least. Anyway, I digress. Let's dive into this puppy, man, and really go through this thing with a fine-tooth comb. So we start out with the preseason games. We played the AFC East. in the preseason this year. Normally, we play the AFC North, right? The Ravens and the Bengals or the Browns, those types of teams. But because we played them in the regular season, they had to switch it up. So we don't play the AFC North this year. Remember, first game of the preseason last year was at Cleveland. And normally we play the Ravens. It was a very exciting game last year against the Ravens. Remember when we broke their streak? Remember when Joey Sly ran over to their bench and went like this? Oh, no, Joey, what are you doing, right? Yikes. We were too excited about that win, by the way. We should be ashamed of ourselves, looking back on that. Anyway, so they switched it up on us, and we're playing the AFC East. So first preseason game will be against the Jets. Second preseason game will be against the Dolphins, both of which are on the road. And then we finish up our preseason slate at home against the Patriots. We'll probably be seeing the number 3 overall pick in that game. Quite a bit of them, as a matter of fact. I think we'll be seeing a lot of Drake May in that game, because if I am to assume, and I probably shouldn't do this, but if I am to assume he's not going to be the week 1 starter, he's going to be taking a considerable amount of preseason snaps, including probably all of that final preseason game, to continue to get him reps, because that's what's going to speed up his clock. And once the games start and they count for real, he's not going to see the field until they think he's ready. So he's going to play a ton in the preseason, is Drake May. We'll probably see a whole hell of a lot of him in that third preseason game. And you probably won't see very much of Jaden Daniels, if any, in that third and final preseason game. My guess is you'll see a possession or two from him. I'm actually anxious to see how this group is going to handle the preseason, because we really don't know what their philosophical approach is to the preseason, whether they feel like they need to get guys reps, or if they're more of along the lines of, hey, let's get some scrimmages against some of these teams and let's not play our players in the preseason, because that's what Dallas did. They didn't play their players really in the preseason. I think they might have played, Dak and some of the starters in one preseason game, if that. And that's where Dan Quinn is coming from. And a lot of times you adopt some of the principles of where you came from. And obviously the preseason and the way teams approach it and how coaches view it have changed drastically since Dan Quinn himself was a head coach in this league back in 2020. So I surmise that we're going to find out a lot about their approach to the preseason. And with a young team like we have, right, where you want to see a lot of these guys get reps, I'd imagine they're going to play some of these guys a whole hell of a lot, but we'll see. Anyway, let's get to the schedule itself. So all of the games with the clear background are away games, as you see at the bottom. Anything in white is a home game. The first thing that I always look at after I get through the bye week and the amount of primetime games, which we talked about having 2 primetimers and the bye week being the last possible week for the 3rd year in a row, week 14 that it can possibly be. I then start looking for schedule anomalies, as I like to call it. And we've got quite a few schedule anomalies here. And then I look for some pockets. What's a tough pocket? What's an easy pocket? Where can we stack up some dubs if we're playing good football, if we're confident? What's going to be really tough on us? What's going to be a grueling part of the schedule? And I just look at this entire schedule and I'm saying there's really only one pocket of this schedule where things sort of ease up. But we can't even say that because of who we are. We said the same shit last year when we got to that pocket of the schedule where it was Falcons, it was Bears, Falcons, Giants, right? Oh, yeah. And I remember I was talking greasy. I mean, I had all kinds of grease and liquid dripping down the side of my mouth because I was talking so greasy. My lips was just so lubricated. Pause. Because I was talking so greasy. You would have thought I just took a bite out of some Church's chicken or some shit. I was like, after we lost to the Eagles, hey, we win in the next 3 games and we're going to see y'all asses again in week 8 and it's going to be for the division lead. Well, that ended very quickly. I went back and watched that week 5 post-game video after the Bears game. That's actually a really good video. I was actually really funny that night. And it was good, some good stuff. Boy, was that disappointing or what? Anyway, week 1, this had already been reported by multiple outlets. We're on the road at Tampa Bay, week 1, right? I don't even know how I feel about that. Is that a winnable game? Sure it is. Is that a losable game? You damn right it is. I don't really know what to make of the Buccaneers. I was hoping for something more of a sure thing, which that doesn't exist, especially with us. But I don't mind. I don't mind going to Tampa. I just know wacky things happen when we travel to Raymond James Stadium. When we go to Tampa, wacky things happen. They just do. And I go all the way back to 1999 in a playoff game that we should have won, where we didn't even get a snap. The snap didn't come back cleanly, and we didn't even get a kickoff, right? On the field goal that would have won us the game. Just wacky shit happens. Mike Allstott, diving over the top in a regular season game that was like 36-35, where he didn't score. We stopped him and they gave him the touchdown. Like bullshit, right? Just crazy things happen when we go to Tampa. Remember the Ryan Fitzpatrick game where he threw for like 930 yards, but they only scored 3 points because they turned it over like 5 times in the game and they missed like 2 field goals? Yeah, crazy shit happens when we go to Tampa. There was another game in there that we actually came back and won late. I want to say it was Robert Griffin III's rookie season. That was a fun one, right? Just really strange things happen when we go to Tampa. Anyway, looking forward to seeing if something crazy happens in week 1. I'll say this. The last time we drafted a rookie number 2 overall at quarterback with this much fanfare, we went on the road against an NFC South team and a star was born. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave that there for those of you who want to explore further. I'm moving on. Week 2, the Giants at the crib. So the first thing after the bye week and the 2 primetimers was the anomaly. Where are the anomalies? You get an anomaly right out of the gate. Our first 4 out of 6 games are on the road. Jesus! What are you trying to do to us? 4 out of 6 on the road to start? Guys, what are we doing? 3 out of our first 4 are on the road? What are we doing here, folks? Come on, schedule makers. Yes, I get it. We've had some home cooking, in the past. But damn, 3 out of 4? Now, it's not a brutal 3 out of 4, but when you couple in the 4 out of 6, when you couple in the other 2 games, it's a pretty rough start, to be honest with you. I mean, we don't know what the Cardinals are going to be. We don't know what the Browns are going to be, but the Ravens and the Bengals on Monday Night Football, let's get to it. So, Giants week 2. This is the second time we've had the Giants this early in the season. Remember, we had them back in 2021, week 2, right? That was the year that we had Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback, got hurt in week 1. Heineke had to come in. And so the very next week, quick turnaround, Thursday Night Football, Heineke went out bald, had the come from behind win. Remember, our place kicker, Dustin Hopkins, missed the field goal initially, but their defensive tackle, I forget his name, the really good one, he jumped off sides for whatever reason. I don't know what the hell he was thinking, but he gave us another shot and we won the game. So that was in 2021. So this will be the second time in 4 years, essentially, that we've played the Giants in week 2. This time it's not on Thursday Night Football. So that's a winnable game, but we say this every year about the Giants. Every time we play them, it's a winnable game, and somehow we manage to not beat the Giants. So maybe look, Dan Quinn owns the Giants. If nothing else, I have confidence that he knows how to baffle the Giants. And he knows how to shut their ass down. And now they don't have Saquon. So you're hoping that that makes them even less of a threat, and we're able to just throttle their ass this time around. They're due, and they're not just due, they're due for an ass whooping. They're not just due for a loss. They're due for a keen, swift, brutal ass whooping. Chalk outline, yellow tape, that kind of thing, right? Crime scene, forensics has to show up. Nasty, nasty scene. That they're due for one of those. I don't know if it's going to be week 2 or if it's going to be where's the other one? Week 9? I don't know. My guess is it's more likely to occur at home than it is away, but I don't know. It's the Giants, man. So then you go the next weekend. We said we were getting a Monday night game, and we knew it was Thursday and Monday. We're not worthy of a Sunday night game. We have to prove ourselves for them to let us back in Sunday night. We're banned from Sunday night football until further notice, all right? Till otherwise notified. So we knew it was Monday and a Thursday. We didn't know who the Monday team would be. We said Monday or Thursday, one of the two games is going to be an NFC East opponent. We knew that, right? And the other was going to be a fun team, right? Someone you would love to see us match up. I wasn't exactly thinking Cincinnati on the road in the jungle. Welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games. Wasn't necessarily thinking about. And, I'm more along the lines of, hey, if you're going to give me Joe Burrow, can we push this towards the back of the season just in case his ass decides to be crippled by the time we get there in some form or capacity? Can you just push this to like week 14 just in case he's not there, right? Nah, they said we're going to bless you early with some Joseph when you know he's going to be healthy. Now, here's the good thing about this game. And this is the only reason why we have a shot. The week prior to our game against the Bengals, they played the Kansas City Chiefs. So they're going to be emotionally spent coming off that game. Whether they win or they lose, they're going to use up a ton of energy, and whatever's left, they're going to bring to Monday night. I hate that they get the extra day to recuperate, but whatever the case may be, this is a really good spot for us, being that they play Kansas City the week before. But outside of that, on the road, Monday night at Cincinnati against Joe Burrow, I'm not really too fond of this spot for us. Okay. This one feels like a death trap, if we're being honest with one another. So that's tough, man. I was thinking of all the possibilities of that Monday night game. Never did it enter my mind that it would be Cincinnati. Not one single time did I say, maybe Cincinnati on the road on a Monday night. That'd be fun. Never said that. Never crossed my mind. The following week, week 4, at the Arizona Cardinals. So again, 3 out of 4 on the road to start. Now, granted, none of these 4 teams made the playoffs last year. Not a single. Well, let me take that back. Tampa Bay made the playoffs last year. But the other 3 teams did not make the playoffs last year. But understand that Joe Burrow changes everything in Cincinnati. A healthy Burrow means that that's a Super Bowl contending Cincinnati Bengals team, right? So understand that just because they did not make the playoffs last year doesn't mean that's who we'll be seeing in week 3. And the Cardinals, keep in mind that they were very competitive towards the end of the season with Kyler Murray back at quarterback. So remember, before he even came back, they were very competitive. They just weren't winning games. But we know firsthand they almost beat our ass in week 1, right? So, and they did beat Dallas. They should have beat the Giants. They were up by a gazillion points and blew that lead. And they beat the Philadelphia Eagles last year. So and that was with Kyler Murray back towards the end of the season. This is a dangerous Arizona Cardinals team. And here's the thing. Back in the day when we saw Kyler Murray, and the last time we saw Murray, if I'm not mistaken, was 2020. Ron Rivera's first year, week 2 of that season, we went to Arizona, and Murray took a large dump on us in that game. They were up 20-0 at halftime, right? Typical Ron Rivera shit, right? Typical Ronald Rivera, down 20 in the first half, down 3 scores at half, at the intermission. Kyler Murray is a problem, but back in those days, we didn't have a lot of team speed defensively. So he created a different type of problem for us than he does now. We have speed defensively now. I like our chances against Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. What even makes me feel even better about Kyler Murray and going up against the Arizona Cardinals, and I get it, different team, different philosophical approach, all of that good stuff. Cliff Kingsbury's on this staff. He knows Kyler Murray very intimately. Very, very intimately. Okay. So if anybody knows, Kyler's weaknesses, what makes him tick, the things he's not comfortable with, and they can pass that off to Dan Quinn, it's Cliff Kingsbury, right? So again, 3 out of 4 to start on the road is brutal, man. I mean, that's the kind of shit that gets your noodle split, right? However, if you were going to do us like this, 3 out of 4 on the road to start, I'm glad it's Tampa Bay, Giants. I don't love Cincinnati, but it had to be one good team in there somewhere, right? And I don't want to disrespect Tampa Bay because they're fully capable of beating the brakes off of us in week 1. Todd Bowles might see a rookie coming in week 1, and he might decide to turn the blitzometer up to 80%, and Jaden Daniels might be a deer caught in headlights, and he might get sacked 6 times in that game, and we might get throttled on the road. Who knows, right? We have no idea. But I'd like my chances out of the gates with these first 4 games. If we're splitting this thing up into quarters, and you're considering this the first quarter, it's not a bad first quarter, except for the fact that we got 3 out of 4 on the road, right? And one of them is a Monday night contest against a damn good Cincinnati Bengals team. Then you get to week 5, and you're home for the first time in 3 weeks, and it's the Cleveland Browns. We owe them. They're on the list. Remember, I made a small but very impactful list prior to the season, right? I told you there's a list. They're on it because the last time we had a realistic shot of making the postseason, they came into our building, smacked us around, left with a dub, and left our season in peril. So they're on the list, right? So I would love nothing more than early in this season to exact a measure of revenge. I would love to do that. And I want Deshaun Watson healthy because he beat us back in 2022. He was the one that did us in. He had just gotten back not too long ago. He hadn't won a game yet as a starter since coming back. And we allowed him to come into our building and smack us around with Amari Cooper. So I would love nothing more than to return the favor to his face at Commanders Field. Okay? At Commanders Field. So I'm looking forward to that one. Now we're going to have to stop the run. And I would assume that Nicholas Chubb will be back back behind the quarterback. And we know they run the football. But I'm not scared because this new iteration of Washington Commanders defense should be able to stop the run, and we got dogs in the front 7. So I feel really good. Feel good. Then you're on the road at Baltimore. A lot of AFC North, action our way early in this season. A lot more than I would really like to see. Personally, I was really hoping we could kind of backload the schedule with these AFC North teams because you don't know who's going to be healthy, who's going to be playing meaningful football. I would have much rather caught these teams. This is the best division in football right now we're talking about, okay? This is the best division in football. 3 out of the 4 teams made the playoffs last year. All of them had winning records, and the Steelers barely missed the postseason last year, okay? I would have preferred to have pushed 2 or 3 of these games towards the week 9 and further back territory. They said, nope, you're going to take 3 out of 4 of them in the first 6 weeks, 2 of which are on the road. Good luck. You're going to need it. 4 out of 6 on the road to start the season off, 2 of which are against AFC North opponents. And when you look at it, if Tampa's any good, 3 of them, of the 4, are against playoff caliber teams. So, yeah, it's pretty rough out of the gates, but this is what you sign up for, right? This is why you draft all these players. This is why you lift all them weights, right? So you can flex your muscle and test just how good or how good you aren't, right? We're going to find out a lot about this team early. There's no skating here. If we come out of the first 6 weeks 3-3 or better, this is a damn good football team we're talking about in Washington this year. Because you can inflate your record by playing subpar teams like the Eagles did last season. And look, I say that, but also recognize that the Eagles went through a very tough stretch thereafter, and they held it down there too. It wasn't until they got to the tail end of that stretch where things started to fall apart. But before they got to the tail end of that thing, they were finding ways to win. They beat the Dolphins, who were very good at that point. You know, they beat the Chiefs, right? Wasn't pretty, but they got it done, right? They beat Dallas the first time around. They beat us, even though we probably shouldn't have been included in that conversation. But we played them really well the first time, and it's family business. And they beat us too. So, yeah, you can inflate your record, but I'm always of the mindset of I'd much rather build up a bunch of equity, stack as many wins as I can, and even if it's on lesser opponents and you trying to shit on because that builds confidence, right? We may not be the team that our record says we are. We might not be a 7-0 team. Remember the Cliff Kingsbury 8-0 last undefeated team in the league, 2022 Arizona Cardinals team? Remember, or 2021 Arizona Cardinals team? Remember that team? Yeah. How'd that work out for them, right? What about the Pittsburgh Steelers team in 2020, where they were the last undefeated team? We snapped that streak at 11-0. And what happened to them, right? When your fool's goal, when your record is built on a house of cards, eventually it's going to collapse. But both of those teams still made the playoffs, right? When you stack them up like that, your chances of missing the postseason are very low. So I'd prefer to get those games early and have a chance, but they're not giving us that opportunity here, folks. They're telling us right out of the gate, if you want to win something, you're going to have to earn it, bro. We're not giving you a damn thing. And that's fine. As a wise man used to say, we're not giving you a damn thing. Okay, y'all not giving you a damn thing. Okay, they're not giving us a damn thing. Let's see what we do. All right. So that'll be a fun one because Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, we know of Jaden Daniels looking up to him as one of his idols. The play style is similar. A lot of people compare him to Lamar Jackson. I don't think he is Lamar Jackson. There's only one Lamar Jackson, but the skill sets are very similar. And so, you know, there'll be a lot of eyes on that particular game in week number 6 at Baltimore. And the last time we played the Ravens, they got us at home. That was if you remember, that was the Dwayne Haskins test game. Remember? Old Ronald Rivera in his first year here in Washington gave Dwayne Haskins a week 4 exam that he failed. Yeah, good times. So they're not on the list, you know, but I'd like to beat them. It'd be nice to beat them. I'm just going to say this, and I'm going to leave it there after I'm done. The last time we played the Ravens with a highly regarded quarterback that we drafted 2nd overall, we beat the Baltimore Ravens in a highly controversial game in which our quarterback got injured, but we won the game. I don't want to see that happen in this game, but I would like to leave M&T Bank with a dub. That would be nice. So this is the part of the schedule where things start to lighten up for the good guys, right? Just briefly, okay? And I use this phrase very, very lightly because we are the Commanders. We're not good enough to circle anybody on the calendar and say, we should beat them. This is a dub. We can't do that. And if you're doing that, shame on you. And you haven't learned anything over the last 25 years, okay? Teams are circling us, and I tell you this every year. Teams are circling us and saying, hey, we better win that game. That's how we get treated. So if you're doing that to Carolina and the Panthers, you don't think the Panthers fans right now looking at their schedule aren't saying, hey, in week 7, we better beat the Commanders. That's a win. If they only got 4 wins on their schedule, best believe we one of them, okay? So understand what the perception is about us around the league, okay? You might have this fallacy in your mind about, oh, you know, we should beat Carolina, we should beat Chicago, we should beat the Giants. Every one of those teams are looking at us like food, and they bringing their utensils and their napkin to Commander's Field, right? In the case of the Panthers and the Bears, they're coming to Commander's Field, and they're bringing their utensils with them. I said all of that, and I gave you this speech with such veracity, and then I'm going to turn around and out of the other side of my mouth say, hey, we need to beat the Carolina Panthers in week 7 at home. We need to beat the Carolina Panthers in week 7 at home. What would be schedule release night if we ain't talking cold, hard cash, right? Like, this is the one night you get to be irrational as a fan. This is the one night you get to talk reckless and come out of the side of your mouth and the side of your neck with craziness like, hey, we could win 11 games off this schedule. You get to say that tonight. You're allowed to say that tonight. After the night, you have to put that away and be reasonable again and be rational again. Tonight, we get to be irrational. One night in the year, you get to be irrational. Tonight's the night. Tonight's the night. So this stretch right here of Carolina, home for Carolina, home for Chicago, at the Giants, that's the part of the schedule where I go, tasty, right? That's the part of the schedule where I'm like, I feel like chicken tonight, chicken tonight, right? This is where I'm looking at. I'm like, man, we should be able to eat good right here, man. Panthers, Bears, Giants. We did this same song and dance last year, and we failed that test miserably. We won 1 out of those 3 games last year. Bears, Falcons, Giants. That was the stretch last year. Bears, Falcons, Giants, and we just won the Falcons game. That was it. So as much as I want to hype this one up and say, hey, bro, we got to take care of business here. Because let's say you come out of the first stretch of games, the first 6, 3-3. You got a chance to win these next 3 and get to 6-3. Now we talking about go have yourself a season. Why don't you? Right? Hell, let's say you win 2 out of the 3 of these. You get the 2 home games and you drop 1 on the road to the Giants. But you came out of the first 3, 3-3. You 5-4. You still got a chance going into week 10 to go have yourself a season. Why the hell not? Right? That's a big stretch. I'm going to say, to me, no matter what happens in the first 6 games, barring that we go 0-6, and I don't see that happening, it doesn't matter if we come out of that thing 1-5. You win those 3 games, and you're 4-5, and you're right back in the, the thick of things. You come out of that thing 2-4, which is probably the most likely outcome for me, if I had to guess. And then you win those 3 games, you're 5-4, and you're over 500, and you're right back in the swing of things. Again, that stretch right there, week 7 through 9, that's going to make or break our season. If you ask me, if you don't take care of business there, you're probably going to be in some trouble in 2024. So, home for the Panthers in week 7, home for the Bears in week 8. That Panthers game, by the way, we didn't get any of these last year. Hey, let's get a golf clap here. We didn't get a single 4 o'clock kickoff at home last year. The disrespect was real last season. Okay. The last game of the season against Dallas was the only game, and that one got flexed to 4:25 because the Eagles and the Cowboys were fighting for the NFC East. So they wanted them to play at the same time. That was the only reason that game was at 4 o'clock. We didn't have a single scheduled 4 o'clock kick last season. The disrespect was real and very much so deserved. We didn't have a single 4 o'clock kick at the crib. I don't know why they picked the Panthers game of all the games to make it a 4 o'clock kick, but I like it. I like it a lot. Okay. Bears, the following week at Commander's Field, and then week 9 You finish up your season series with the Giants. You're done with them. You haven't seen any of the other two NFC East teams, but you've played both Giants games by week 9. So that's another little anomaly. But we start the season out with 4 out of 6 on the road, and then the schedule makers that be said, all right, man, we owe you a little something. Don't worry. We got you on the backside of this thing. So then they throw us a stretch where we get 6 out of 8 at the Crizzo. All right. Now you can't be mad at that. Now you got to take advantage. We haven't been a good home team. Who are we kidding, right? We've been one of the worst home teams in football here of late. So what does that even mean? Don't know. Have no idea. Maybe the changing of the name of the field gives us a spark this year. Or maybe the team's just better coached and it's better players. I don't know. We'll see. But you get 6 out of 8. So they're giving us our get back, right? So that in saying that, 3 out of 4 here at home. Panthers, Bears, Giants on the road, and then Steelers at the crib. Okay? Steelers at the crib. The Steelers are on the list. Okay? The Bears are on the list. Okay? I don't need to tell you why the Bears are on the list. The Panthers are on the list. Okay? The Giants are on the list. I don't have to tell you why these teams are on the list. Okay? Browns, these are the teams on the list right now. Browns, Giants, Bears, Panthers, Steelers, all on the list, right? Every year, the Eagles and the Cowboys are going to join the Giants on the list because they're just NFC East teams, and we want to beat them for various reasons. But nobody has disrespected us at FedEx Field more and more often than the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they do it in the most disrespectful ways humanly possible. The utmost disrespect. I have Antonio Brown twerking on Monday Night Football, week 1 of 2016, etched in my memory bank, and it will never, ever leave. I said, don't you do another pump? And he did one last pump. Pop. That's all shit. It's like somebody shot me. That last pump killed me. We got to get their ass back. I've been holding on to that shit for a very long time. We've seen them. Since then, we upset them in 2020. I don't give a shit. They're still on the list. That one hurt so bad in 2016. I got to beat them twice to erase that one. So I want that one in week 10. Thursday Night Football, our last prime timer, barring that they flex one of our final 2 games of the season, we knew one of our prime timers was going to be against somebody in the division. Somehow, some way, we managed to play the Eagles the best out of any team in the division. I can't explain it why we managed to do this, but the Eagles are and have been and always will be the one team in the division that doesn't scare me. I've told you that many times. I'm not afraid of the Eagles. When we stink, the one team that we can beat is the Eagles. If we really stink, the Giants are going to beat us and the Cowboys are going to destroy us. But even if we're trash, we can still find a way to either almost beat Philadelphia, make it a competitive game, or just flat out beat them. So with that said, it makes sense that they're playing, we're playing them on Thursday Night Football in week 14, or week 11. Makes a ton of sense. Because the last time we played them on a major platform like this, we upset them. I don't have to remind you about it, but I'm going to because those are good memories. Some of the few good memories we've had over the last 4 years. Going to Philadelphia, undefeated Eagles team. I remember telling LB like it was yesterday, don't let me catch your ass outside undefeated. And he laughed at me. And he laughed. Oh, the disrespect. We caught those bitches outside undefeated in their own building. We went in there and did those boys. Did them so bad and dirty, they went and signed like 6 dudes from the old folks' home. because we did them so nasty, dirty, dick, dastardly. Good times, man. Good times. I'd like to run that back in week 11 if we could. That'd be nice. That's a different Eagles team too. It's a different Eagles team. Yeah, they did some things this offseason, and they played around the roster for better or for worse. We'll find out. Like I always say, not afraid of the Eagles. Not afraid of the Eagles. The following week, Dallas at home. If you're going to beat Dallas, that's the one. It's at home. I think the competitive portion of our season is still going on at that point. And that's Dan Quinn's first, opportunity to see his former mates. It was this close to being Thanksgiving. Boy, they tried to get us again. You see how close that was to Thanksgiving? If I didn't know better, and I already knew because everyone had already told us we're not playing on Thanksgiving this year. But if I hadn't known any better, and nobody said anything about the schedule yet, and we got this thing for the first time, and I look and I see week 12, because usually week 12 is Thanksgiving. For those of you keeping score at home, normally week 12 is Thanksgiving weekend. And I see 11/24 on the schedule. I said, oh no, it's Thanksgiving again. We were that close to getting on Thanksgiving against these bastards again. But the football gods were smiling down on us, and they said, look, man, you asked specifically to not be on Thanksgiving this year. We'll cut you a break this year. But let you be good this year. Let you show promise this year, and your ass will be right back on Thanksgiving next year. I said, hey, bet. Just give me a year off, man. Just give me a minute. So Dallas in week 12 after Philadelphia on the road on a Thursday night. So the thing that I love about this is, yes, it's a quick turnaround, Philadelphia, after playing a physical Pittsburgh Steelers team. Not ideal, right? To have to run the Pennsylvania gauntlet like that in a short, 4-day span. Not ideal. But then you get 10 days off between that and the Cowboys game. If you ask me which one I want more, I'm probably going to tell you the Cowboys game. But I want both of them. I'm greedy, just like you are. I want both of them. Why limit yourself to just one when you have two, right? You get 10 days off, and then you get a chance at Dallas. And if this is Dak Prescott's swan song in Dallas, this is his final year, man, I want to beat his ass bad. Man, I want to beat him like he stole something. This would be a good opportunity to do that. Following week, you're at home for Tennessee again. 6 out of 8 games at the crib. They did us dirty to start, but boy, did they make up for it. 6 out of your next 8 at the crib. All right. So, 5 out of your next 7. Sorry about that. 5 out of your next. I'm about to say, how do we have 10 home games? 5 out of your next 7 are home games. You can't ask for anything better than that. If they said, all right, look, man, we did your rough starting out. Here's a peace offering. And they offer you 5 games out of 7 at home. How do you say no to that? So the Titans at the crib, they're on the list. Remember what the Titans did to us the last time we saw them at the crib? Do you remember? We just had a conversation not even a week ago. If memory serves me correct, not even a week ago, we were having a conversation about the most gut-wrenching losses of the last 3 years or so, the Rivera era, we'll call it. I told you, I don't think the most disappointing loss was the Bears loss. Didn't see that one coming in. I could call that the most surprising, the most disappointing. The most gut-wrenching loss was the Titans game. Okay. One, we had no business losing that game. The Titans were not good in that game. They were not good. And we let them come into FedEx and beat us. And the way that they did it, in that 2022 season, Brian Robinson Jr.'s first game as a Commander, the way that they did it with that interception on the final play, essentially, of the game for us, that shit was brutal. That felt like somebody reached in my chest. After Terry got that PI down to the 2-yard line, you couldn't tell me we weren't winning that game. What? They're on the list, man. I'm still flummoxed by this bye week being week 14. I am absolutely shocked that they would do us like this again. I was so adamant. Oh, don't worry about it. They're not going to do it to us 3 years in a row. There's no way. They did it to us again. They did it again. It's almost like they go through the schedule and they do everybody's schedule and they're doing everybody's bye week. And then, we're the last team alphabetically. We're the last team in the NFL, right? I don't know if you guys know that or not, but if you're looking at it alphabetically, anytime they do anything in the NFL alphabetically, we're last because our first name starts with a W. And it's almost like they get to us in the bye weeks last and like, oh shit, we forgot to give Washington a bye week. Oh, we'll just give them the last one. Don't worry about it. It seems like they do this shit every year at this point now. It's almost out of control. Like they get to the last team and it's us and they're like, oh man, we didn't give them a bye week yet. Okay, yeah, just put them at the back. Don't worry about it. It's not like they're good anyway. Well, shit, you're not even giving us a shot. Now, I've been a proponent of this. If you're a good team, that bye week could actually recharge the battery and send you into the postseason on a high note. It's what happened with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in 2020. They weren't playing great football. Going into that bye week, they had the latest bye you could possibly have that year. They had that week 14 bye. Might have been 13 at that time. I don't think we had a 17-game schedule then. I think it might have been 16 games. So that might have been a week 13 bye, which was the latest bye you could have. And they came off the bye and they won 4 in a row. And they took that momentum into the postseason. And we all know what they ultimately did. We don't have Tom Brady. We're not the Tampa Bay Bucks. We're not a Super Bowl contending team. But if you have that kind of momentum going for yourself, who knows? That bye week could be exactly what you need to recharge the battery and finish up strong. I remember trying to convince myself of that's exactly what was going to happen back in 2022 when we were 7-5-1. Had we beaten the Giants in that game, we should have beaten the Giants in that game. If we had beaten them and gotten to 8-5, I think that bye week would have served as a springboard to the postseason. But instead, we tied that game. You kind of didn't know how to feel going into that bye week, and we know the rest is history. The season fell apart, at the seams, essentially. Anyway, week 14 bye is nasty work. It just, what in the hell, right? You come off the bye, you're on the road at New Orleans. Have no idea what the Saints are going to be at that point of the season. I've said this already. I wouldn't be shocked if Spencer Rattler isn't starting by week 15. They're paying Derek Carr a ton of money, so he'd have to be hurt for something like that to happen, or he'd have to just be playing absolutely awful football, which he wasn't terrible last year, but for the money they're paying him, he's basic. So whatever the case may be, it's not going to be an easy game. It's in the Superdome. I don't know if you guys care or not, but they're on the list, right? Who can forget Drew Brees' porn night? Who forgets that game, right? That was one of the most despicable displays of booth unprofessionalism I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was just despicable work. I had to take 2 baths after that game. It was so nasty. I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say this anyway. They jerked Drew Brees off so much that night, I felt like I was drenched in his semen. Pause. It was that dirty that night. It was that disgusting that night. It was awful. It was awful. And don't you forget, they also ended our season in a very tragic fashion. Remember that year Chris Thompson got hurt and we were kind of like hanging on for dear life to our season? Remember that? We were up 13, or was it 14, with like 3 minutes to go in the game. And somehow we managed to let these bastards score 2 touchdowns in like 2 seconds, take the game to overtime and ultimately beat us. Remember that? that ended our season effectively. Chris Thompson broke his leg. That was Kirk Cousins' last season here in 2017. So yeah, they've done some really, nasty things to us over the last couple times we've seen them. So they're due, right? I don't remember if we played them. Yeah. And then remember Jameis Winston and the Hail Mary at halftime, right? Remember that shit when they came back and beat us? Yeah, the Saints are on the list. That was the last time we saw them. What was that, 2021? That was? Yeah, 21. Yeah, they're on the list. After New Orleans Saints. Eagles for the second time in the season, this time at home, week 16. I got a feeling that game's going to be important for both teams. At that point of the season, we're hanging on for dear life of a playoff run, potentially. And at that point, the Eagles are going to be trying to win the division. So I think they're going to need that game, and we're going to need that game. We'll see what wins out, right? Falcons game, they got us in week 17. Both of them are home games. So Falcons, Eagles, back-to-back home games. So coming off the bye, you got 2 on the road, 2 at home. And the 2 road games are the sandwich bread and the meat in the middle, pause again, are the 2 home games. So you got 2 home games sandwiched in between 2 road games. The Falcons at home, that's either going to be the 28th or the 29th. And I guess depending on how good the Falcons are, how good we are, that's going to determine if that game's played on a Sunday or a Saturday. If the Falcons are good and we're somewhat good, they're going to flex it to Saturday. If the Falcons aren't good or we aren't good, then they're going to just leave it on Sunday, right? Both teams have to be good in order for that game to be flexed to Saturday. If one of the teams is good, like if we just suck and the Falcons are really good, it's going to be on Sunday. If we're competitive, let's say at that point of the season, our record is 6-9. What's that? 15? Yeah. 6-9 going into that game. And the Falcons are at that point 9-6. They'll probably make that a Saturday game, depending on what other options they have available to them. But if the Falcons are, say, 11-4 going into that game, and we're 5-10, that game's going to be on Sunday, the 29th. So we'll see what happens there. And then week 18, obviously, it's TBD. Just because if Dallas is playing for the division like they were last year, they're going to, make it so that no one has an advantage. So my guess is, like it was last year, it'll probably be a 425 kick. Now, if they've already clinched or the Eagles have already clinched the division and there's not, then they'll probably just leave it at 1 o'clock. They'll probably play it at 1 o'clock. But usually the Cowboys are playing for something meaningful at the end of the season. So normally that game gets flexed to 425. So all in all, when I look at the totality of this schedule, from a balance standpoint, it's not bad, right? You start out rough on the road, then they make it up to us by giving us 5 home games in 7 weeks. 5 out of 7 at home. And then they end the season with 2-2 in terms of home games and road games. So the split isn't bad. And if you're talking about balance of the schedule with the toughness of it, again, it's not terrible. It's tough throughout, though. There's only one pocket where you look at 3 teams that didn't make the playoffs, and not just didn't make the playoffs last year. They were all awful last year, which doesn't mean that they're going to be awful this year. But more than likely, they're going to be growing pains with those teams because they're all young. And even the Giants may feature a different quarterback. We might get to them in week 9, and they may be playing Drew Lock at that point. Who knows, right? But at the end of the day, that one stretch, week 7 through 9, I've already said, I think that's going to be the determining factor whether this schedule or this season, rather, has a chance to be competitive throughout, or are we just playing out the string with a young quarterback and trying to, build confidence and get him reps and experience. Are we playing meaningful football or are we playing out the string? I think weeks 7 through 9 are going to go a long way in determining that, because like I said, the first 6 weeks, albeit tough because you're playing so many games on the road, there's still winnable games in there, depending on how good we are this season, right? And obviously how good those teams are as well. But I don't see us starting the season 0-6. And barring an 0-6 start to the season, no matter what you do, even if you're 1-5, if you can somehow win those 3 games, weeks 7 through 9, and the likelihood is if you're 1-5, probably not going to win 3 in a row, but stranger things have happened, right? If you're 1-5, you win 3 in a row, you're 4-5. If you're 2-4, which is what I think is the most likely outcome of the first 6 weeks, you're 2-4, you win 3 in a row, you're 5-5, you're 5-4, right? You're right there. That's why I said that stretch is going to be huge, because no matter what happens in the first 6, as long as we don't start 0-6, and we're not going to start 0-6, as long as we don't do that, anything above 1-5, and you got a chance to make some noise weeks 7 through 9. You come out of that thing 2-4, 3-3. God forbid we're anything north of 500. Lord have mercy on all of us. We come out of that first 6 games of the season 4-2. I will be insufferable, especially because in order to do that, you're going to have to beat one of those AFC North teams. Now, and you might lose to both Baltimore and Cincinnati and win the other 4 games. I don't give a shit. I don't care. Sign me up. All that means is we're not at a Super Bowl caliber level. Duh. I already knew that. You get to weeks 7 through 9, and you're hovering around 500, 2-4, 3-3, 4-2. You got a chance to have yourself a season if you can take care of business weeks 7 through 9. But if you don't, here we go again, right? Here we go again. So you got the Giants twice in the first 9 weeks. They're done. You don't see you don't see the Eagles for the first time until week 11 on a Thursday night on the road. You don't see Dallas for the first time until the following week against the Eagles. So week 12. So for the second year in a row, Dallas is backloaded on the schedule. Remember, we didn't see Dallas for the first time until Thanksgiving last year. That's pretty much what they're doing again this year. Week 12 and week 18. We saw Dallas in week 12 and week 18 last year. We're seeing Dallas in week 12 and week 18 this year. Because if I'm not mistaken, week 12 was Thanksgiving. We came off of that ass whooping. We lost to the Dolphins, got blown out again, and then we had a bye week. So it's exactly the same thing, except Thanksgiving isn't week 12 this year. It's week 13. That's the only thing that saved us. But they did the same thing that they did to us last year with Dallas. So Eagles a little bit, further back. Remember, Eagles were like the Giants last year. We had the Eagles in week 4 and 8 last year. So we were done with them by week 8. We're done with the Giants by week 9 this year. So that's the schedule in a nutshell. What do I see here before we get to the comment section? All right, let's do the irrational thing. This is why we showed up tonight, to do the irrational thing. Let's do the wins and losses thing. Now, this is subject to change. This is definitely subject to change. All right. Week 1 at Tampa Bay. Boy, I want my dog to get off to a rousing start, his first start in the NFL. We can do those boys, man. We can beat the Buccaneers. They're not even nice like that. And they don't have no pass rush for real. But Todd Bowles, he'll heat a rookie up. He'll put his ass in the microwave quick. I like our chances there, man. I do. What the hell? Give me a dub. Giants the following week, they due for a loss. Give me a dub there. Monday Night Football at Cincinnati, that's a loss. Cardinals on the road, I don't like that spot for us. That's a loss too. Browns at home, they're due, right? I want that one bad. That's a dub. Ravens on the road, you already know that's a loss. So 3-3. And you could easily lose the Buccaneers game and be 2-4 and still be fine, right? But 3-3, I'll take it. If we can somehow get to 3-3, and that's not impossible looking at the first 6. It's not impossible. You can find ways to get to 3-3. And with this group, I'm telling you, defensively, we're going to turn some heads this year. I wouldn't be shocked if we snuck somebody we had no business sneaking. Dare I say Baltimore or Cincinnati on the road? We're going to win one of these games we have no business winning. Whether it's Cincinnati or Baltimore or Philadelphia on the road, we're going to beat somebody. Like, those are the, like, if you ask me on this schedule, do we have any kamikaze missions? Like games where you just go in and you say, bro, we got no chance. Like, just don't get injured in this game. We got no shot. There's only 2 games I look at and say, bro, I don't know how the hell we win those games. It's the 2 games in the first 6 weeks on the road against AFC North teams. Monday Night Football on the road in the jungle against Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. That seems like a kamikaze mission. And week 6 against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. But I'm not willing to call that one as big of a kamikaze mission. But it feels like another game where you go, I don't know if we're going to be able to beat them or not. I don't think we're going to beat them. Other than that, look at the schedule and tell me there's a game here that you fear that team that we're playing. Look at the rest of the schedule. And you may say, I'm not afraid of either one of those teams. That's fine. But let's keep it a buck. You're talking about 2 of the best quarterbacks in football. We're talking about a top 5 list of quarterbacks in the league. Those 2 are on it. Like, there's not another guy on this list that's in the top 5 and of quarterbacks. Now, again, as I made the point earlier, it may not be any more top 5 quarterbacks on the list, but there's a lot of top 13 quarterbacks in this bitch. A lot of top 15 quarterbacks on this list that we'll be playing against. Outside of those 2 road games against AFC North teams in the first 6 weeks, every single one of these, the rest of the games are winnable games. Not a single one do I look at and say, we can't win that game. Had the Steelers been on the road, I might have been like, yeah, probably not going to beat the Steelers either. That's at home. We got a shot. We got a shot. So anyway, you get to 3-3 through the first 6. Look, I told you tonight's the night I get to talk reckless, and then I come back to my senses tomorrow. So we're going to talk reckless tonight. I've already told you we're a 7 or 8 win team this year. I'm not moving off that. Tonight, we're not a 7 or 8 win team because we get to be irrational tonight. So I'm going to take advantage. It's like the purge, right? For one night, you get to talk as reckless as you like, and the record could be whatever you want it to be. Tomorrow, you come back to your senses, and we get back to reality. Tonight, we live in this alternate universe where we're actually really nice. So we win in these next 3 games. In my alternate universe tonight, where I get to be as irrational as I want to be, we beat the Panthers at home, we beat the Bears at home, and we beat the Giants on the road. Yeah, I said it. We swept the Giants. They're due. F the Giants. That shit's not happening. They're going to get us one time, right? But tonight's the night like Betty Wright. F the Giants. We sweeping them hoes. 6-3. You lose to the Steelers. You lose to the Eagles on Thursday Night Football. I want that one against Dallas. And since I'm being irrational, I'm taking it at the crib. All right, taking that one at the crib. So after starting 6-3, you lose 2 in a row. That puts you at 6-5. We're now 7-5 on the season after beating Dallas. Titans at the crib. They're on the list. You know we can beat them, right? Yeah, they don't have Derrick Henry no more. And we're not afraid of Tony Pollard. Sorry, not sorry. Let's go ahead and beat them heading into the bye week. What the hell? You know what we probably would do in that situation? If this was an old group, I'd say some shit like we're 7-5 heading into the bye week with a bunch of confidence. Let's make this game a tie and go 7-5-1 heading into the bye week. If this was the Rivera group, that's what I would do here. But this is not that group. Give me the dub over Will Levis and company. 8-5 heading into the bye week. You come off the bye. That's a tough one on the road. I just don't know what to make of the Saints, man. They're so beatable, but it's the Superdome, though. I got respect for the Superdome. What the hell? Give me that one, too. 9-5. You lose to the Eagles. I want to beat them. You know what? Swap those two. I mean, because we're not doing that shit this year. All right. Well, you know what? If you're going to sweep the Giants, somebody's going to get you. You're not going to win 4 games. Not after you just went 0-6 in the division. You're not going to turn around and go 4-2 in the division. It's not how this shit works. They swept us. The Eagles got us. Okay, fine. They got us. Kirk at the crib, he came and he blessed us too. Dallas at the end of the season. We already beat them once. Then we're not sweeping the Cowboys. I just said that. So, yeah, they get us too. So, what was once a 9-5 start finishes at 9-8. A disappointing. If you start 9-5 and you finish 9-8, it's a disappointing season, right? Because you're probably missing the postseason at 9-8. And all you need to do is win one more game. You're probably getting in. I'd sign up for 9-8, though. I just wouldn't want it to look like that. That would be a disappointing 9-8. But if we were 7-8 and we managed to win our final 2 games of the season, we still missed the postseason, but we went 9-8. That means we were competitive all season long, and we finished with a winning record. And Jaden Daniels found a way to win more games than he lost in his rookie season, and you'd be encouraged by that. Anyway. That's what I got us doing tonight. That easily could have been 10-7. But I didn't want to do the thing that I know I'm capable of doing, which is going off the deep end. Because I still think, and I said this already, to me, this is a 6-8 win team. I'm not moving off of that. I got us at 9 here. But tomorrow when I wake up and I'm back to my senses and the schedule purge is over, I'm back to 7 or 8 wins. But looking at the schedule, I'm just going to tell you, looking at this schedule, and I don't know who's going to be good, who's not going to be good. This is why this particular exercise is an exercise in futility, because we have no idea who's going to be good and who's not going to be good. However, having a chance to really analyze this schedule and look at it, if we're as good defensively as I think we're going to be, we can win 9 or 10 games. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not predicting it. But I wouldn't be shocked. If this defense is what I think it can be, that's going to give you a chance to be in a bunch of these games. And if this offense with a dynamic quarterback can score enough points, and that's always been our problem, we don't score nearly enough points. You could make a case for this team winning 9 or 10 games. You could make a case for a 10-win season here, just looking at the schedule. Now, you're going to have to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. If the Giants suck ass, you got to sweep them. If the Panthers are still garbage, you have to beat them. If the Bears are stinking in Caleb Williams' first season, and even if they're not, they're coming to our crib and we owe them one, you got to do those boys, right? I don't know what the Saints are going to be in week 15. My guess is not a damn thing. You got to win that game, right? You got to win the ones you're supposed to win. If you're going to try to make it to 9 or 10 wins, you can't be losing to the likes of the Panthers or the Bears or the Giants if the Giants stink. You got to beat those teams. Look, we got our quarterback now. So we don't need to lose to the Giants. There's no excuses this year. Like, there was a purpose behind losing to the Giants. I wanted them the first game in week 7. But after we lost that game and I realized the season was done, that second matchup in week 11, I didn't want that shit. Y'all can have it. Take it. You can have it. I don't want that shit. It's yours. I need the quarterback at that point. We knew we were fighting for something greater than a meaningless win in December. Go ahead and take that shit. That was mid to late November. Go ahead and have it. That ain't the case this year. We got our quarterback. Now we need to do these boys. I don't know what Pittsburgh's going to be. Not afraid of them. Whoever's at quarterback. This schedule has winnable games. It also has losable games. And if we're not careful, you know how this could go. So, anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section. See what you guys have to say. Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Swaggy P writes, I'm surprised the Bears game wasn't another Thursday night primetime game. And we got the Bengals on Monday night instead. Also, another week 14 bye. I know, right? Like, shaking my head. I'm excited either way. Can't wait for training camp. Bart Scott. Can't wait. Hashtag raise hail. So, yes, I think a lot of people bought into that Bears because of Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels going 1 and 2 in the draft, bought into that narrative of, oh, they're going to throw their game on primetime. If you look back at history of quarterbacks that go 1 and 2 in the draft that play each other the following year, that they never do that. They never put those quarterbacks on primetime. Because, again, in order for you to be at 1 and 2 in the draft, more likely than not, it's not always the case. You can trade up from, say, 16 in the draft to number 1 or number 2 and get your quarterback. But usually speaking, if two teams are drafting 1 and 2 and they both select quarterbacks, they both stink. Not putting those two teams on primetime television together. That's usually how that goes. So that was working against us. And I said, I can't see them putting Bears Commanders on national television 3 years in a row. They shouldn't have done it last year, right? They were pressing their luck last year and they got a stinking dud last year because we didn't show up. So I find it hard to believe that they said, okay, let's sign up for that one more time. Third time's the charm. No, it's not. But I knew we were going to have a Thursday night and a Monday night game. I did not see the Bengals coming on Monday Night Football. That was a bit of a surprise, almost a shock to the senses. Like, wait a minute, Cincinnati? Monday Night Football? What? That was a little bit different. Sonny Rawson, stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB. Mob, y'all know what to do. Show my guy Sonny some love. Welcome him with open arms. Let him know what it's like to be a member of the MOBB. You are the newest member of the Mob Squad. Welcome to the squad, Sonny Rawson. And once again, big shout out to my guy Sonny Rawson for being the first to sign up and register for the LouieTeeNetwork lifestyle trip to the Dominican Republic. Mods, if you're out there, please put the link to the registration form in the live chat so everyone can see that. Big shout out to my guy Sonny Rawson. Looking forward to meeting you and having some fun with you. Ed B, thank you for being a member for 32 months. Salute to my guy Ed B. Might check out week 1 versus Tampa Bay. DQ, JD, debut, dub. I'm looking forward to it, man. On the road. Is that game 4:25 or is that game 1 o'clock? Is that game 4:25? Yeah, buddy. 4 o'clock window, week 1. There's nothing more exciting to me. Like, I don't want to wait until that night. And I definitely don't want to wait till Monday. After what happened in 2016, I want no parts of waiting all the way until Monday to get my ass filleted. But there's something about watching that 1 o'clock slate in week 1, and then you play at 425. Oh, that warms my heart. The last time we did that on the road, if I'm not mistaken, there are a lot of things that point towards this being a win for us. I already told you about the last time we selected a quarterback with this much fanfare, number 2 overall, who was a Heisman Trophy winner on the road against an NFC South opponent. You know what the results were. 40 points, road victory for the good guys. Not saying that's what's going to happen this time, but I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Also, the last time, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong about this, and I'm trying to go through my mental Rolodex, but I feel pretty confident the last time that we went on the road week 1 in the 4:25 window or 4 o'clock window was when Alex Smith came here in 2018, and we went on the road and we took on the Arizona Cardinals in week 1, and Adrian Peterson went off, and we played well, and we dominated the Arizona Cardinals, and then we came back and we wet the bed against the Indianapolis Colts to a half-filled FedEx Field that half of the half was Indianapolis Colts fans. And at that moment, I said, wow, Snyder's really done a number on this organization and this fan base. Because we went on the road and impressively beat the Arizona Cardinals, and then we come home and there's no heroes welcome. There's no, 3/4 of a filled stadium with a raucous crowd. Indianapolis doesn't travel well. They shouldn't have more fans here. Darius Leonard came here, had 900 tackles, and they beat us. I remember T.Y. Hilton running a shallow cross, a mesh concept down by the goal line, caught an easy touchdown. They went for 2, ran the exact same play, and threw it to another receiver. And then I remember after the game, the defensive coordinator said, yeah, we got to communicate better. And that was his mantra the entire season. We got to communicate better. I was like, shut up, dummy. So we going on the road. 4:25 window. That should be fun. I'm excited about that. Let's go get a dub. Why not? Let's get one for the young fella. Let's get one for DQ. Let's do it. I'm all for it. Sonny Rawson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Sonny, writes, can't wait to give you the smoke and laser tag. Oh, hey, bro, you better bring your Nikes, bro. All right. You better bring your Nikes. All right. Because I'm nasty with it. I'm nasty with it. I'm nasty with it. You better bring your Nikes, bro. All right. I already told you I'm hyper competitive. So them guns better work. I just know that. I've been to some real janky laser tag establishments where I'm lighting dudes up and the vest is not registering my shots. If they got their shit together, you in trouble, Sonny. I'm just letting you know, bro. He says, #mob. I only see 5 games we can't win. Let the Kool-Aid commence. You're not wrong. I mean, let's take a look at it. You say let me guess the 5 games. At the Bengals week 1 or week 3, excuse me. At the Ravens week 6. When you say can't, I think you probably use that term loosely, but because we can beat the Eagles in week 11, but you probably have that as one of the games. Cowboys in week 18 is probably one of the 5. And the Steelers, I'm going to say Steelers week 10. I'm guessing those are the 5 games you don't think we're going to win. Bengals week 3, Ravens week 6, Steelers week 10, Eagles week 11, Cowboys week 18. Those are the 5 games. That's my guess. I could be wrong. I already said after the first 2 games on the road against the AFC North opponents, I don't see another game on the schedule that we can't win. We won't be favored in a number of these games. We won't be favored against the Steelers. We won't be favored against the Eagles. We won't be favored against the Cowboys. We might not be favored against the Giants on the road, depending on where we are in our season and where they are, right? We should be favored at home against the Panthers and the Bears. Again, that's all depending on what they're doing at that point of the season. Who knows? Those two teams could be really good at that point of the season. We have no idea. But in any event, I digress. Big Mike, been a member for 21 months. We're getting close to that 2-year anniversary. My guy, Big Mike, right? What's up, Lou? What's up, Big Mike? My ceiling is 10 wins. Not bad. After looking at that schedule, I can see why. My floor is 7. Yeah, okay. I can see that too. If things go our way with JD5 and the defense, I can see it happening. I'm telling you, the defense is going to hold up their end of the bargain. The question is, how good is the offense? I haven't been this confident in a particular group in quite a while. And there have been times where, like last year, I thought the offense, I was excited about the offense, but I was more so like intrigued. Like, I want to see what it looks like. But I had high hopes for the offense last year. I was not confident in the defense. I had high hopes for the offense with Carson Wentz, but I wasn't like going off the deep end. But I was confident, like, hey, if he could give us what he gave Indianapolis the year prior, we're gonna be all right. I am adamant that this defense is going to be good. Adamant. So now I think the ball, falls in the court of the offense. And if this defense does what Joe Witt Jr. coached secondaries have done, now that it's his defense and Dan Quinn defenses have done, which is forced turnovers, that's going to help this offense even more. And when you have a team like we have, you need your kicker to be making kicks. So I need Brandon McManus to be on his shit. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. John Perez writes, Lou, good to see you as always. Same here, JP. The schedule looks really up and down, but the first 4 out of 6 on the road is tough. Indeed it is. That middle part with Carolina, Chicago, New York, and Pitt is going to define our season, I feel like. I do as well. And I wouldn't even include Pittsburgh in there because I see that as a loss. Right? I don't see us beating the Steelers at home, even if they're not good. Mike Tomlin coming home. If TJ Watt's healthy, if Alex Highsmith is healthy, I don't see us beating them. But they're on the list. The Carolina, Chicago, and New York stretch, though, all 3 of those games, I see us as, in my mind, I can't say what it'll be when we get there, but in my mind, we should be favorites in all of those games. In my mind. Maybe not the Giants game on the road, but I do feel like that's the portion of the season that is going to define whether we're going to be competitive, because I think we're going to be competitive from week 1 to week 18. I think we're going to be a different team in that regard. You're not going to see us getting our asses throttled and guys giving up and things of that nature. But can we be competitive with the games actually still meaning something? That's what we want. That's what I want for Jalen the most in his first season, is that he's not just playing out the string, getting experience in games that don't mean anything. Even if we're at the bottom of the in the hunt category, well, we're still in the hunt and we're still playing for something and the playoffs are still on the line. I want that type of pressure. I want that kind of game pressure, week of preparation pressure. I want him to feel that. I want him to be a part of that in year 1, if at all possible, right? What I don't want is to be 4-8 and you get to week 13 and you're already out of the mix. And now you're just going out, you're playing for pride and you're getting, reps and you want to be really competitive. But, the likelihood is your season's already cooked. That's what I don't want to have happen. Like, I don't want to be 4-8 going into that Titans game before the bye. Like, that sucks, man. You want to be going into that Titans game with a chance to be hovering around 500, right? Like, if you go into that Titans game at 5-7, you win that game and you're 6-7, your season is still right there in front of you. You got 4 games left. You win all 4 of those games. You're 10-7. You're probably going to the playoffs. You're probably playing bonus football. You're 6-7 coming out of that bye, and you win 3 out of your final 4, and you get to 9-8. Those are all meaningful games, whether it leads to the playoffs or not. They're all meaningful games with something on the line. That's what I want for Jaden. Excuse me. That's what I want for Jaden. I don't want him playing out the string in a meaningless season. I mean, if it happens, it happens. But I think that part of the schedule with Carolina, Chicago, and New York is going to go a long way, and I've said that already. And you seem to agree with that. John Perez, my guy, JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy, JP, writes, I see a couple of upsets on there. At Philadelphia and at Cincinnati and maybe home for Dallas, but not looking forward to facing Baltimore at all. You better than me. I could see us beating Philadelphia. I got that one doesn't scare me at all. At Cincinnati, I think, is the single toughest game on the schedule, not just because it's Joe Burrow, but because it's on the road and it's a Monday night game. Do you understand what that carries? Do you understand how juiced and ginned up that Cincinnati Bengals crowd is going to be? Are you kidding me? Like, Cincinnati just started getting this kind of love. And while over the last 4 years or so, they've been in these types of games in this type of setting a ton, so it doesn't hit the same as it once did, they still embrace the Monday night game, no matter who the opponent is. And my guess is they're going to wear some kind of dope-ass uniform, probably the white helmets or some shit like that. And, yeah, that's just going to be tough, man. That's just going to be tough. I'm not looking forward to that one. If you ask me what's the toughest game on the schedule, I'll tell you it's on the road, Monday night at Cincinnati. That's what I tell you. Home for Dallas. Yeah, technically that's an upset. But I think we can beat them. So he said, but not looking forward to facing Baltimore at all. Anytime you got to play Lamar Jackson, it's not fun. It's not fun. And while we have way more athleticism on the field than ever before, defensively, he's still Lamar Jackson. And no matter how much speed you think you have, he's probably still the fastest human on the field. More likely than not. So there's that as well. Will Gaines. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Will. Thank you for the super chat once again. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy, Will, writes, Ravens are definitely on my list. They're on mine as well. Let me see. Are the Ravens on my list? I don't know if I put the Ravens on my list. They're not on my list. You said they're definitely on your list. They're not on my list. My list is going through the games. My list is the Giants week 2. The Browns week 5. Let me just look at the schedule. I'm trying to commit it to memory right now. Giants week 2, Browns week 5. Panthers week 7, Bears week 8, Steelers week 10, Eagles week 11, Dallas week 12, Titans week 13 for sure. I'm still upset about Drew Brees porn night and Jameis Winston getting us the last time. That loss, that one stung because of the Hail Mary before half. Saints are on the list. That's it. So you don't have to count the Giants, Cowboys, and Eagles twice. They're on the list once. That's good enough. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams out of the 13, I believe, different teams that are on the list, on the schedule. Let's see how many different teams are on the schedule. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah. Of the 13 teams on the schedule, 9 of them are on the list. The Ravens aren't one of them for me, but our lists are different. And that's why I love it, right? I didn't forget what Mark Andrews did, LOL. Okay. For different reasons. Mark Andrews was a little aggressive at practice. You know, we had the joint practices last year. And yeah, he was doing some real roughhouse, like WWE type shit, stepping on dudes' chests and doing unnecessary stuff. So yeah. Didn't he belly to back suplex somebody too? I think he sized somebody up and suplexed their ass last year. So yeah, Mark Andrews was real out of pocket last year. So he's on your list for a different reason, but he ain't on my list. But I respect your list, Will. I respect it. My guy JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. JP writes, I'm gonna try and be at that Washington Giants game week 9. That's right in your backyard. You know what I always tell you, but if you end up going, let me know, and I'll give you the pep talk. I'll give you the speech, right? Hopefully you can make it. We need all the help we can get on that one. Try to bring home a dub. Christopher Pope. Excuse me. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Christopher writes, what up, Lou? What's up, Chris? This one is hard. This one, he says, this is one hard ass last place schedule, but I think we're going to kick some ass. Hashtag raise hell. It's a tough schedule because of the teams we play, right? Now, on one hand, you're playing arguably the worst division in football in the NFC South. But on the other hand, you're playing arguably the best division in football in the AFC North. So there's no way to really escape that, right? There's no way to really escape that. Sandwiched in between all of that, you get the 2 worst teams in the 2 divisions that we don't play this year in the NFC, which are the NFC West, Arizona, and the NFC North, and that's Chicago. Well, Chicago should be much improved, and Arizona should be much improved. So while on the surface, you're getting a last place schedule, who's to say? Arizona might be tougher than Seattle this season. So you may not actually be reaping the benefits, right? Chicago might be tougher than Minnesota this year. You may not be reaping the benefits of a last place schedule, so to speak. So, yeah, I do think there are aspects of this schedule that are definitely tough. It doesn't start out easy, but it is what it is, right? Hopefully we do kick some ass. Chaotic. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Chaotic writes, Monday night game is a doubleheader. Is it really? Yeah, that's right. The NFL released the entire schedule. I haven't looked at that yet. Interesting. So week 3 is the doubleheader. So I'm trying to think about how they did the doubleheader. Were they simultaneous? Or no, they were staggered. That's right. Like one started at so what time let me see what time this one starts. Okay, 8. It says 8:15. I felt like they were staggered though. Now you got me interested. I'm about to go look up the NFL schedule. And so week 3, Jacksonville and the Bills are the first Monday night game. That one starts at 7:30, and then our game starts at 8:15. Interesting stuff. Huh. All right, then. I actually like that it's a doubleheader. I'm a nervous wreck when I watch our games and there's no other game to distract me. Like when I'm just focusing in on our game, I'm a nervous wreck. I need another game to take the edge off, to help me relax. That is outstanding. I'm actually excited about that. Huh. Interesting stuff. Okay, thanks for that, Chaotic. I had no idea. I hadn't looked at the overall schedule yet. So that's news to me. Okay. I feel even better about that game. We're still going to get our asses kicked, but now it's not just the entire audience watching us get our ass kicked. Now it's spread out, right? Not everybody's going to be watching us get our brains bashed in, and I don't think we're going to get our brains bashed in. I think we're going to be competitive. I've said this already. I think Dan Quinn and that defense, Joe Witt Jr. and company, are going to keep us in ball games. We may not win, but I think they're going to keep us in ball games. Yeah, I like that. I like the fact that that's a doubleheader. Okay, cool beans. Christopher Pope, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, I ain't trying to, he says, I just ain't trying the damn streak breakers anymore. I was at the week 1 game against the Cards, and it was 99% Commanders fans. I hope week 2 is the same. So remember how they hyped up that first game last year, and everything was new. It was the first game without Snyder, and we had Eric Bieniemy, and there was this groundswell for Sam Howell, and the Cardinals were supposed to stink, and the Cardinals aren't traveling with a fan base, so it was the perfect opponent for us to really fill up the stands with our fans, and it was the perfect storm. Now the weather wasn't great, and the team didn't perform as well. And it really took a lot of the luster and shine off of that week 1 excitement. By us playing as lousy as we did in that week 1 game, now we won, but by us playing as lousy against a team that everyone figured would be the worst team in football, which they weren't, a lot of people were like, same old skins, man. So it didn't translate into the fan base really getting behind the organization, right? So we'll see if week 2 is hyped up. It's the Giants. They're going to travel down from Jersey and New York to see their boys. And if we don't, show up in masses and protect those tickets, the Giants fans are going to show up and show out. So it ain't going to be, I can assure you of this, because of the opponent, it ain't going to be 99% Commanders fans. I don't give a damn how good we are. It ain't going to be 99% Commanders fans in week 2 in our home opener against the Giants. You just got to hope we got more Commanders fans than Giants fans, and that the shit don't feel like 50-50, and then if the Giants somehow are up on top of us, that it feels like a road game. That's what you got to hope that it doesn't turn into. Dr. B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Dr. B, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, writes, being real, I see 6 to 7 wins. Week 14 bye? Come on, man. 6 to 7 wins is right in the wheelhouse of where I think we're ultimately going to be. I talked a little reckless tonight, have us at 9 wins. Easily could have put us at 10, but I didn't want to overstep my boundaries, even though I was talking reckless. But when it's all said and done, probably going to end up at 7 or 8 wins. 8 would mean that the ball bounced our way. We created more turnovers than we turned it over, meaning we were in the plus category, in the plus minus, which I don't know if we've been in the plus category, in the plus or minus department in the last 3 or 4 years. It's been pretty rough from a plus minus standpoint because we don't generate enough turnovers. And you know we're going to give it away. Well, at least we were going to give it away. One of the Jaden Daniels' strong suits is his ability to take care of the football, right? Again, that's college. Now we're talking about the NFL, but he's always been a guy that's been pretty good with taking care of the football. So if that continues and he's not turning over and we're taking care of the football and then we start producing turnovers, that only adds to the likelihood of us being super competitive, winning some games maybe we shouldn't win, and having a better record than many of us believe. But that's going to be a huge part of it, is how Washington takes care of the football, how they win or lose the field position battle, and how they create or don't create turnovers. We haven't created turnovers in quite some time. This group is supposed to come in and help us generate turnovers. That's been the mantra all offseason, taking the ball away. Ball is life, remember? If they can do that somehow, this team's going to win more than 6 or 7 games. But it's going to take a lot of things working in our favor to have that number be higher than 6 or 7. The week 14 bye is just ridiculous. I am, if you ask me, the one thing that I'm the most shocked about with the schedule is that they went week 14 bye for the 3rd consecutive year. I'm just like, I didn't think they would go 3 straight years of Bears Commanders on, primetime television on Thursday Night Football. I didn't think they would go 3 straight years of week 14 bye. I am shocked that they did that. I'm utterly shocked, almost speechless. When I first saw that, I was like, you got to be kidding me. Week 14 bye again? No way. Door Gunner, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Door Gunner writes, just bought my tickets behind the Commanders bench in Tampa. Can't wait. Definitely coming up for some home games too in DC. All right. Well, you know what the move is, right? You know what you got to do, right? And I'm gonna give you that speech, before week 1, but you already know what you got to do, right? You got to take care of business. All right. We are well represented in Tampa, by the way. There are a lot of Washington fans that reside in that Florida area. So they usually represent when we go down south. So you'll be a part of that mass of Commanders fans that'll show up. Hopefully you show up and show out and help Jaden Daniels, Dan Quinn, and company bring home the dub in their first games here as a member of the family. So looking forward to that, Door Gunner. You know what you got to do. You know the mission. I need you to execute and come home with a flawless victory, right? Dr. B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Dr. B, who writes, you twisted my arm, LOL. Then 10 wins, LOL. Hey, look, man, tonight's the night we get to be reckless. So, yeah, I'll twist the arm a little bit. You can get to 10 tonight. And I'm telling you, I'm looking at the schedule. I could see a path to where you can get to 10. That's not out of the realm of possibility. I can see 10 wins, right? I can see 10 wins. So it just all depends on how this team plays early. That little pocket, that little stretch, week 7 through 9, I think I'm gonna say that a million times. I'm gonna continue to repeat that over and over again. That is going to be the stretch of football that ultimately determines the type of season that this team is going to have in terms of whether they're playing meaningful football in weeks 12 and 13 and 15, or if they're playing out the string of the season. Weeks 7 through 9 are going to go a long way in determining that. Obviously, weeks 1 through 6 are going to be integral in that as well. But like I said, there's more room for error, right? More margin for error in the first 6 weeks. You don't have to be 2-4. You don't have to be 3-3. You don't have to be 4-2, right? Through those first 6 games, you can be 1-5 and still win the next 3 games, weeks 7 through 9, and have a shot, right? It's if you start 0-6 that even if you start 0-6 and you win 3 straight, you're still 3-6. Like you're dead, right? We're not going to start 0-6, so I'm not really worried about that. So I feel really good about this team and what they can potentially be in terms of being competitive and having a season where you have a shot, right? So 10 wins can happen. I can see it happening. Josh Gates, stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB. Josh, MOBB, you know what to do. Show Josh Gates some love, welcome him with open arms, and let him know what it's like to be a member of the mob. Josh Gates, welcome to the squad. Glad to have you. All right. Door Gunner, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Door Gunner, who writes, tons of fans in Tampa. Have good luck in Tampa, too. We've had some, I said this already when we were going through the schedule. We've had some interesting games against the Buccaneers in Tampa. They've gone both ways, right? We've won some of those crazy games. We've lost some of those crazy games. It's never just a normal game in Tampa, right? Where one team wins or one team loses. It's always craziness, pure chaos when we play the Buccaneers. So we'll see what ultimately happens in that matchup. But like I said, I've seen Washington play against those Florida teams, whether it's the Dolphins or it's the Buccaneers or whomever. We seem to have a really good draw down south when we play those teams in Florida. So I don't see this being any different. I think we're going to go into Tampa. There's going to be a large contingent of Washington fans that are going to show up and show out. And hopefully they lead to us leaving Tampa with a dub week 1. And I could see that happening, man. Like Jaden Daniels' first career game, Dan Quinn's first game as Commanders head coach. I really see, it's hard for me to envision that being a loss, right? But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Jay Willard, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Jay Willard writes, new era. Set the tone early and often this season. That's going to be the goal, right? That's going to be what they look to do, is to set the tone right off the bat. You know, they've already said that this style of play, you know, arriving violently, right? Fast and physical, arriving violently on the scene, not going to be for everybody. Set the tone week 1 against Tampa Bay, right? Be physical, force Baker Mayfield into some turnovers, and go on the road and steal one, right? Set the tone early and often this season. Do the same thing to the Giants. I don't care who's playing quarterback. Drew Lock, Daniel Jones. I don't give a shit who it is. Set the tone early, right? Get into their ass, be physical, create turnovers, and let's go win some ball games, right? We did it last year. That's how we won the first 2 games of the season, if you recall. I always say this when we talk about last year. It's so amazing that we started 2-0, and it seems like 3 years ago, because we literally won 4 games the entire season, and 2 of them came in the first 2 games of the season. Like literally, we were 2-0 before we ended up 4-13, right? So that's the part that's kind of like hard for me to just like wrap my brain around sometimes. But last year, the reason why we won those first 2 games of the season is because we created turnovers. We created turnovers in that Arizona game. If not for those 2 Montez Sweat, fumble recoveries, we don't win. I think he forced the first one. I don't think he recovered that one. And then he recovered the second one, right? If those 2 forced fumbles we don't beat Arizona. And then in the next week, we picked off Russell Wilson twice, I believe it was. Manuel Forbes had one, and I think somebody else picked him off or forced him to fumble something. I think there was another turnover. I feel like there were 2 turnovers for the Denver Broncos in that game. I could be wrong. I do know I think we got a stop on 4th down as well. So something like that. Either way, we generated turnovers in that game. And so that's going to be huge. And if we could do that early on this season, if we could do that against those opponents, Tampa Bay and New York respectively, we'll have a shot. Set the tone early and often this season. I'm with you, Jay Willard. Christopher McLaughlin, thank you for your generosity. First of all, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, and thank you for your generosity. Thank you for gifting 5 memberships. Welcome to all of those new members who were blessed by Chris. And once again, thank you for your generosity, Chris, as always. Really, truly do appreciate you. Salute to you. Kevin Quinn, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Kevin, writes, hey, Lou, when we get in a Super Friends stream, bro, I would tell you that a Super Friends stream is not likely to happen anytime in the near future, but I would not close the door on a Super Friends stream. All right. So if it comes back, you'll know. I'll let you know. You guys will be the first to know. But as of right now, like I told you guys the last time, let's just say it's on pause for right now. Let's just say it's on pause for right now. Josh Gates, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Once again, welcome, and thank you for being the newest member of the MOBB, who writes, since we are reckless tonight, my dad thinks we'll have 10 or 10 plus wins, but I'm going to go safe and say 8 wins. Hey, let your dad have at it. Tonight is the schedule purge. Let him have at it tonight, right? Let him be reckless. Let him talk reckless. That's what we do on schedule release night. Tomorrow, he'll wake up and he will have gotten that out of his system. He would have purged that out of his system, and he'll come back to his senses, and he'll be probably sitting where you are in that 8-win territory. All right. But I, too, am going to play it safe. I said 9 because I wanted to be reckless and say 10, but I, too, played it somewhat safe and said 9. So I think we're in the same boat, Josh. We want to be reckless, but we realize probably not the smartest thing to do, even if it's on schedule purge night. Just going to play it safe and stick with 9 and have at that, right? Rocky D. But just so your dad knows, no judgment over here. I'm not one to kill anybody's dreams. If he sees 10 dubs or more, tell him have at it, man. I hope he's right. Rocky D, thank you for the super chat. Yes. Mr. Pink says Jamin Davis made Russ fumble. I knew there was another turnover in there. Jamin Davis made him fumble, and we picked him off. I knew there was another turnover in there. Rocky D, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Rocky D writes, compared to other teams, strength of schedule is in the middle of the pack. I like the Cincy LSU versus LSU quarterback headline, which you're talking Burrow, former Heisman Trophy winner, versus Jaden Daniels, former Heisman Trophy winner, both playing, both transfers, I may add, that came over and in their second year as an LSU Tiger won the Heisman Trophy. The biggest difference being Joe Burrow led an undefeated season in which he set all kinds of NCAA records, and I still think it's one of the greatest seasons I've ever seen from a quarterback in college football history in terms of, statistically what he was able to do in the toughest conference in football. Haven't seen anything before it. These eyes haven't, at least. And I don't think I'll see anything after that, right? And with all of this new alignment, and it'll never be the same. Anyway. Don't sleep on the Bears. Caleb, with that receiving core, I think the ceiling is 10 games. I'm not sleeping on the Bears. I think they're going to actually be a pretty solid team, which is why I wanted to get them early before Caleb figures the shit out, before he really builds a rapport with Rome Odunze and DJ Moore. I really wanted, and Cole Kmet, I wanted to get to him early. They're giving us them in the middle of the season when he's going to be comfortable, right? A lot more comfortable than he was in the first 3-4 weeks of the season, which is when I wanted to try to get my hands on him. And so, yeah, I'm not sleeping on them at all. I'm wide awake. The ceiling is 10 wins. But a lot has to happen to get to that ceiling, man. And it's too much that has to happen that I just can't see happening for that to take place. So the ceiling is 10. I've said this already. I'm sticking to my 6 to 8, 8 being the ceiling for me. But if the ball bounces our way, if we're creating the turnovers, if Jaden Daniels is taking care of the ball, this defense is what I think they can be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The kicking game is great. Special teams is out. Like so much. You see what I have to do? All the things that have to go well for us to get to 10. Everything's not going to go in our favor, which is why I think that number is more like 8. But yeah, the ceiling I think can be 10. Looking at the schedule, and I've said this already, looking at the schedule, I could see 10 wins. King of the Bluegrass, been a member for 27 months. Who writes, hey, Lou, I think 4-2 in the division. We sweep the Giants, get one against the Eagles and the Cowboys. The Cowboys are a mess, and Kellen Moore is going to be a disaster. Bad fit for Hurts. It could happen. It's hard for me to see that type of a turnaround that quickly with all of the moving parts that we have. To sweep the Giants and split with both the Cowboys and the Eagles, to go 4-2. If we go 4-2 in the division, we're making the playoffs. I'll make that declaration right now. We go 4-2 in our division, we're winning 9 or 10 games, and we're making the playoffs. I just don't see that happening, though. I don't see it happening. I see us going 3-3 in the division, and that might end up looking like split with all 3 teams in the division, or you do sweep the Giants finally, and you get one from Dallas, but the Eagles still get you twice, or you get the Eagles once, but the Cowboys still get you twice, whatever the case may be. If we get the Giants twice, somebody's going to get us twice. That's how I kind of feel about that. Somebody's going to get us back on behalf of the Giants. But I'd love to go 4-2. After going 0-6, yeah, you're damn right I'd love to have a winning record in the division. We're due for it, to be honest with you. Yeah, are the Cowboys a mess? Maybe. It's hard to say that. It's hard to say that. You know, just because they didn't do all of the things that some of the other teams were doing doesn't mean they're a mess. It feels like they're in disarray. I won't lie to you. Feels like they're kind of at the end of an era, so to speak. Whether that's the Dak Prescott era or the Mike McCarthy era, it feels like that whatever's happening, something's coming to an end. But we could be wrong. And maybe Jerry Jones is all in. Who knows? We'll see. Kellen Moore, good fit for Jalen Hurts or not? We'll see. I'm not a big Kellen Moore fan, but, you know, we'll see what happens. We will see what happens, right? Darnell Kelly, been a member for 32 months. DK writes, first of all, salute for being a member for 32 months. The ghost of Achilles Smith will inhabit Joe Burrow, and we will win that game, and Dallas will stink. Can I be irrational tonight? But one of them will come true. Yeah, you can be irrational. That's what this space is for, right? From here on out, we will call this night the schedule purge. Get all of that shit out of your system tonight. Be as irrational and crazy as you want to be. Tonight's the night for that. If we beat Joe Burrow in week 3 and he's healthy and they're good, right? Let's say they come off of a momentous win beating Kansas City. Remember, if anybody can beat Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, it's Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. You know, they know how to beat those guys. They come off of that win and they're 2-0 and they're riding high. And we upset them. Let's go have ourselves a season, man. What are we talking about? Let's go have ourselves a season. Because I fully plan on starting the season off 2-0. Right? Fully plan on beating Tampa Bay and then turning around and coming home in the home opener and getting the Giants with Jaden Daniels at quarterback. Fully planning on that. Will it happen? I don't know. But tonight's the night to talk reckless. I'm fully expecting it. 2-0. You beat Joe Burrow, you get to 3-0. Now people are starting to talk reckless. Look out for the Commanders. It's on Monday night, so you can't miss it. If we're to go into Cincinnati and steal that game, what? Highly unlikely, bro. That's one thing I can't allow myself to be that irrational on tonight, is going in. That's the one game, like I said, if you were to ask me what's the one game that feels like a kamikaze mission, that's the game. That's the game. I think we got a better chance of going into Baltimore and beating the Ravens than we do going into Cincinnati and beating the Bengals. Again, it's all of that. You know, that encapsulates everything: the environment, the stage, the quarterback, the team. There's a lot of things. The things that we currently don't do well, they do well. Like, who's covering Jamar Chase? Right? Like, let this shit sink in. Who's covering Jamar Chase? I just told you one of my favorite receivers in this year's draft class. He got drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals. I think that guy's Stephon Diggs 2.0. Okay. And they still have T. Higgins. He may be disgruntled, but he's not getting traded. Who's stopping that offense? If Burrow's healthy, they're going to be a problem. They're going to be a problem. But, hey, Darnell, I like the way you think on schedule purge night. I like the way you think. I'm with it. I'm with it. DMV Chef P. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes 9 and 8. Hashtag raise hail. Or number 5. That's what I got us going tonight. Key word being tonight. I got us at 9 and 8. I think we're going to be 7 and 10, 8 and 9 type team when it's all said and done. But I told you my window right now is 6 being the floor, 8 being the ceiling. But again, I think I raised that after the draft to 7 and 9. Right? I think I did that at the draft. I think I had us at 7 being the floor, 9 being the after the draft, or it might have been 6 to 8. And then I said if the draft was good, it was going to go up to, I think that's what I said. So 7 to 9, if 7 being the floor, 9 being the ceiling. And if everything kind of goes our way, you can get to 10, right? I think we're closer to 7 than we are to the 9, though. But we'll see what happens. I can see 9 and 8. I got us to 9 and 8 tonight, and easily we were 9 and 5 before we lost the last 3 games of the season. So I could have easily gotten us to 10, but I chose not to. I erred on the side of caution, which you're not supposed to do on schedule purge night. But I'm trying to bring some good juju this way. I've gone the opposite route the last 2 years, where I've gone over the top with Wentz back in 2022, where I had us like 12 and 5, and then last year I scaled it back. I scaled it back a notch, and we went 11 and 6 with Sam Howell, and neither one of those worked out for us very well. So I'm going to take the opposite approach with the young quarterback and the young team with the new staff, and I'm going to say that it's 7 and 10, it's 8 and 9, 9 and 8 if everything goes our way, 10 and 7 if everything, including the football, bouncing our way and us taking care of the ball happens. Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, quick question, Lou. When is the next Super Friends stream? Don't have a date for you. I wish I could tell you that there was a date. And but I feel it in my spirit that there's a chance that it could come back, and that it will come back. I feel that in my spirit, but we'll see what happens. But I got nothing for you in terms of a date. Wish I did, but I don't. Kevin Quinn, stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB mob. Y'all know what to do. Show my guy Kevin Quinn some love. Welcome him with open arms. Mob, y'all know what to do. Kevin, welcome to the squad. Glad to have you on board, my man. Court Casino, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Court Casino writes, Lou, subject change. Are we confident with our receiver room? And been wanting to ask you, who is your favorite Commanders content creators? I talked about the receiver room, and I do think that they are not as confident as they would like to be with the receiver room right now, which is why they signed another receiver earlier today. Now, it can be less about being confident about the receiver room and more about them being less confident about the return game, right? Who's to say? But I thought it was pretty telling that they decided to work out receivers today, and they signed one. So I think there's definitely some questions to be asked about where they are from a confidence standpoint in the receiving room. And look, our receivers, no one's going to sit here and debate whether this is a great room, because right now it's not. Jahan isn't where he needs to be from a statistical standpoint and a production standpoint, even though I still think the talent is definitely there and it could be coming this year. Luke McCaffrey has some upside, but we got to see it, on the NFL field. But I have no confidence. I have no doubt that he's going to be what we need him to be. He will not be Dax Milne. He will not be De'Ami Brown. He will not be, AGG or one of these failed draft picks that we've had at the receiver position. I think he's going to step up and play really well for us. But it's not just the receivers. A lot of emphasis is being put on the receivers, and I get it. But we got tight ends, 2 of them to be exact. We got running backs that can catch the ball out of the backfield. It's not just on the receiving core. As for my favorite Washington content creators, I don't really know how to answer that. I mean, I give you a standard run-of-the-mill answer. The guys that I have on my channel, I enjoy all of their content. I have always long been a fan of those who think outside of the box, because I'm an outside of the box thinker. So I enjoy the channels that do a little bit of the outside the box thinking. So there were a lot of channels or a few channels like that when I first got in the game, but there are not a ton of them like that now. But there are some channels that I do enjoy, and one of the things that I have to be better at that other channels I think do a really good job of is bringing on guests. So like a Big Doug, for instance, is a guy that always has really good guests on his channel. And so I think he does a really good job. I love, Rico is the opposite of me. I'm like the old curmudgeon, get off my lawn, eyeball tests, don't give me any numbers type guy. Rico's the direct opposite. So I appreciate what he does because he's more analytically based. I don't always agree with Rico because he is so heavily skewed towards analytics, but I love when somebody does something different than what I do. And Rico is exactly that. So those would be the 2 right off the rip that I could tell you that stand out to me from a content standpoint that I really enjoy. And there are others, right? I enjoy Ed. I enjoy Rio. Shout out to, all the Washington content creators that are out there. So yeah, there's a lot of them, and hopefully you're subscribed to all of them and you're showing love. Christopher McLaughlin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Chris, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Chris, thank you so much for your generosity. Also with the gifting of the memberships. Chris writes, hey, Lou, hope all is well with you and the family. Likewise, Chris. 3 questions. 1, if you could go to one game this season, what game would you pick? 2, what are your expectations for Frankie Louvu this season? And 3, what wide receiver does not make the cut if Damiere Byrd makes the team? So number 1, what one game would I go to this season if I could pick a game to go to? Seeing that both of our primetime games are on the road, which we deserve. We don't deserve a home primetime game. We have not performed well enough, nor have we, taken care of business when given the opportunity to be at home. We've gotten our asses handed to us at home on primetime. And when's the last time we won a primetime game at home? You know, when, the last primetime win that we have was against the Eagles a couple years ago. We lost to the Bears last year on primetime, and we lost to the Bears. Did I just say the same thing over again? We lost to the Bears last year on primetime, and that was the only primetime game we had. And then we played Dallas on Thanksgiving, and we got throttled there. But the year before, we beat the Eagles on primetime. So, and then the Giants, we lost to them at home the year before that, and we beat the Bears on the road. So, now I'm going down the rabbit hole. When's the last time we won a home play primetime game? Didn't do it last year. Didn't do it the year before that in 2022. 2021, let's see. That's 2021. We beat the Giants in week 2. Taylor Heineke game, week 2. So it's been 3 years since we won a primetime game at home. And we've had primetime games at home every single year, at least one, right? The 2021 primetime game against the Giants. 2022, we had a primetime game against the Giants at home. We lost that one. 2023, we had a primetime game against the Bears at home. We lost that one. So they said, no, we're not giving you one this year. And we don't deserve it. But if I had to pick one, a game to go to, would it even be a home game is the question. I don't want to be surrounded by the other team's fans, though. Even though you could go to a Washington game and still be surrounded by other teams' fans, you're more likely to be surrounded by more of your people, right? More of the fam. So it'd probably be a home game. Bears. That'd be the one, because I'd love to see Caleb Williams in action. It'd be the Bears game, week 8, home for Chicago. I'd go to that game. It's always fun when you mix it up with the Cowboys, you know, or the Eagles, but that Bears game is going to be a lot of fun, I think. A lot of hype around it, too, the number 1 and number 2 overall pick. And let those two teams be even remotely good, and it's going to have even more, you know, kind of build up and, you know, hoopla surrounding it. So I'd take the Bears game. Number 2, what are your expectations for Frankie Louie this season? I would not be shocked if Frankie Louie has double-digit sacks this season. He's such a problem as a blitzer, and Quinn is going to exploit that. I think he's going to be fantastic. He'll be the second leading tackler on the team behind Bobby Wagner. Again, all of this is assuming health. He'll be the second leading tackler on the team behind Wagner. He will lead the team in sacks this season. And he will be third on the team in interceptions with 2. So when I tell you I expect Frankie Louie to be a Pro Bowler this year, it's not an understatement. I'm serious. I'm dead ass about what I feel about Frankie Louie and what he can be in this defense. Frankie Louie is a problem. And he'll lead the team in tackles for loss. Boy, that's a lot. But that's how much I believe in Frankie Louie, and that's how aggressive he is attacking the line of scrimmage. Then third, he says, what receiver does not make the cut if Damiere Byrd makes the team? So it's going to be one of those back end of the roster guys at receiver. I've already told you the first 4 guys are safe for me. Terry, Jahan, Luke, and Diami are all safe to me. I could be wrong about Diami, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Samson, I stick by my story, right? It's going to be Jamison Crowder or Olamide Zaccheaus or one of those guys, because I don't think Mitchell Tinsley stands a chance. I mean, he's got to absolutely come in and wow them, right? because they didn't draft Mitchell Tinsley. Hell, the last group didn't draft Mitchell Tinsley. He was undrafted and he made the team. That's a great story, but if somebody's going to make the team undrafted, it's not going to be one of the old guys from the last regime. If we're kind of splitting hairs on who to keep, we're getting rid of that dude and we're going to bring in one of the guys we brought in here. So if he's to take someone's place, my guess would be one of those two guys, Olamide Zaccheaus or Jamison Crowder. And what it may ultimately boil down to is who of the two receivers that I just named offers more value. And I think of those two, Jamison Crowder offers more value because of his receiving ability and because he can return punts. Now, if Olamide Zaccheaus can prove that he's a formidable return man, then it can make things very interesting. But Damiere Byrd, if he's kept on the roster, it's because they see him as the return option. So at that point, I'm thinking that he'd be here and he'd probably be taking the place of, I'd say Olamide Zaccheaus, because Crowder is such a comforting fifth receiver to have. You know, a guy that can step in and give you quality snaps as a wide receiver. I don't know if you can say the same consistently for Olamide Zaccheaus. So, yeah, I'd go with Olamide Zaccheaus would be the odd man out if Damiere Byrd were to make this team. I don't see Damiere Byrd making his football team, by the way, just so we're clear on that. He's here to push some guys, and if there's an injury or somebody's not performing at a high enough level, then I could see Damiere Byrd sliding into their spot. But can't see him taking somebody's spot outright. He's 31. Not that Jamison Crowder is the youngest, receiver in the room, but Crowder is more reliable as a pass catcher. I think there's a level of comfort that comes with Jamison Crowder that doesn't exist with either Olamide Zaccheaus or Damiere Byrd. And for that reason, I think Crowder would be the fifth receiver. And so you're literally going and picking between Olamide Zaccheaus and Damiere Byrd. So I'd choose, I'd say that he'd be on the roster and it would come at the expense of Olamide Zaccheaus as of right now. Thank you for the super chat, Christopher. My guy, Chris McLaughlin. Josh Gates, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy, Josh, writes, if we happen to have a losing season, is our future still looking bright? By the way, everyone run up the likes for our boy. I appreciate that public service announcement. If you haven't already hit the like button, please do. Yeah, the future is still absolutely bright because 7-10 is a losing season. 8-9 is a losing season. It's all in how that 7-9 or 7-10, or 8-9 is achieved. If you start the season off 8-3 and finish 8-9, that's a disappointing season. That's a disappointing season. If you start the season off 8-5 and finish 8-9, that's a disappointing season. If you start the season off 8-6 and 10-7 make the playoffs, and you finish the season 8-9 or even 9-8, that is a disappointing season. Now, from a record standpoint, you're pleased with the output if you're 9-8, but not when you were 8-6 at one point on the season, and all you needed to do was win 2 more games out of your final 4, or final 3, to get you to the postseason. That's disappointing. Or you needed to win 1 of your final 3 and you didn't get it done, and you ended up 8-9 after starting 8-6. That's very disappointing. But if you start the season off 4-7 and you finish the season up at 8-9, that's a hell of a finish to the season, and you're feeling good. You've seen improvement from your team, and you started to really hit an uptick and an upswing towards the end of the season, right? So it's all in how it's achieved, but ultimately a losing season isn't going to define, this team in year one. This is a rebuild. They're calling it a recalibration as they search for their north, right? As they look to find their north. Expectations should be that this team will have a losing record. That's what you should be telling yourself. And if they don't, well, look what we stumbled upon. Look what we found. We finished 9-8. Look what we found. But the likelihood is this team's going to be 8-9, 7-10. 6-11 is definitely within reach. Like, you could definitely fall to 6, be in every ball game but not know how to win. That could happen too, and end up 6-11. With the schedule that I'm looking at, with us playing the NFC South, if we take advantage of that division like we should, and we do what we need to do in the division, meaning we at least split and go 3-3 in the division, you should be able to find and navigate your way to 7 wins. The easiest way to do that, we got 9 home games this year. I know that doesn't mean much when, we were one of the worst home teams in football last year. I know that doesn't mean jack diddly poo squat. But if you go 3-3 in the division, let's say you win 3 out of the 4 games against the NFC South, it's very possible that you could do that. Like, Atlanta is the one team where I'm like, I don't know about that. But that game's at home. Now, what are we playing for in week 17 when we play the Falcons? Don't know. We'll see. Does Kirk Cousins have, some issues looking over his shoulder with the drafting of Michael Penix? Do they not have the type of season that everybody thinks they could have? That could happen too. Falcons could have shot themselves in the foot on some Plaxico Burress shit, right? We'll see. At the end of the day, you win 3 out of 4 against the NFC South. You win 3 out of 6 in the NFC East. You already got 6 wins on the season. Now you just got to beat Arizona or Chicago, and you got 7 wins. That's very doable. Even let's say you split the NFC South, right? Let's say New Orleans and Atlanta get you or something like that. All right. Then beat Arizona and Chicago or beat Arizona and Cleveland, or beat Chicago and Cleveland, and you still got 7 wins. So 7 is very doable. 6 is that's going to be tough for me to stomach. 6. It's going to be tough for me to stomach because I think the defense is going to be really good. Yeah, the future is going to still be bright, regardless of whether, here's the thing. This is what's going to determine if the future is bright or not. How does Jaden Daniels look? It's going to be hard for us to go 4-13 again, and Jaden Daniels looks like a stud. But if we leave next season, if we go 4-13, but Jaden Daniels absolutely killed it, but the defense was just awful. And I can't imagine a scenario in which Jaden Daniels kills it, but the defense is awful and we only win 4 games. Because we were absolutely horrid last season. And if Sam killed it last year, we would have, with as bad as the defense was, we would have won 7 or 8 games last year. Easy. We would have won a bunch of games last year. So it's going to be hard to not win 7, 8, 9 games if Jaden Daniels kills it. But the key is, if he plays well and you go 7-10, then the future is extremely bright. Future is extremely bright. And that's what it really boils down to, is how did Jaden Daniels look? Joshua Myrick, stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB mob. Y'all know what to do. Show Joshua some love. Show him what it's like to be a member of the MOBB. Josh, so glad to have you on board. Welcome to the squad, Joshua Myrick. Cruising 26. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My old buddy, old pal, Cruising 26. What's up, man? He says, Louie T, you guys will get swept again. Go blue. You know what? You should feel that way. You should feel that way. Now, you know, what I find very funny with Giants fans is that there's this perception that they sweep us every year. That's not true, right? They've just been so garbage, you know, of late. It feels like it, at least. So let me just break it down to you like this. Giants fans are out puffing their chest, beating their chest when it comes to us. Because last year, they were supposed to be good, and they weren't. And they still beat us twice. Okay, cool. I get it. The year before, they were supposed to suck. They ended up being good, but they didn't sweep us. They beat us once and they tied with us once. And you could argue the game that they did beat us, they had help from the officials, but we're not going to go down that path. We didn't make enough plays. We pissed that game away ourselves. We deserve what we got. Okay, but you didn't sweep us in that season. Okay. So yes, technically speaking, we haven't beaten you in 2 years, right? But the year before that, we swept you, right? We swept you in 2021. So again, it's not like they've beaten us 6 times in a row or something crazy like that. Now, if you go back to 2020, they sucked ass again that year, and guess what? They beat us twice. So I get it. I understand. If you look at the last 8 matchups between the two teams, they've beaten us 5 out of 8 times, with one of those times being with one of the 3 that they didn't beat us being a tie. So I get it. I totally understand why they feel as confident as they feel. But I'm also here to tell you, times have changed. And this ain't old Ronald Rivera and rickety old Jack Del Rio and clueless Eric Bieniemy running the show anymore, or Scott Turner running the show anymore. You haven't beaten Dan Quinn since he got to Dallas. He smoked your ass. And it's not even close. The way he's been doing you in Dallas, it didn't get much dirtier, grimier than that, right? He's bringing that type of energy to Washington. So we'll see. I mean, you should be confident. I'm just telling you. Shit's different. And why can I say that with the amount of confidence that I say it with this year? And I've said that in the past, but I mean it this year. Shit's different. It feels different because it is different. And it starts at the top with Josh Harris, Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, the rest of his staff, and it permeates down to the players. This shit's different. And because it's different, expect different results. And that includes beating your tired ass Giants this time around. But I'm going to respect y'all now. Last year, I was so reckless with my words. I wanted to bust your damn head to them white meat show. I was trying to destroy y'all twice. And I had every intention of doing that. We were so poorly coached last year that we had no choice but to lose to you guys both times. It's the opposite now. We're going to be so well coached. We're going to run circles around your boys this time around. But, you know, you need the quarterback now, not us. So it's a little different. Shoes on the other foot. DMV Chef P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, we stole the heart of their team. We sweep Dallas. I hope that's the case. You know, that'd be nice. How about we get the first one first? The week 12 matchup at home. Let's get that one first. Then you're playing with house money in week 18 in Dallas, right? But if you don't get the first one, then you're in danger of getting swept yet again by Dallas. The key is to get the first one. The key is to get the first one. Rocky D, thank you for being a member for 17 months. Really appreciate you. Who writes, would you be the guy to bring the super friends together? LOL. If we come back, it'll be a collaborative effort. It won't be just one individual. We'll come back together as a group. So, that's that. Court Casino, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Court Casino writes, what do you think Terry's shelf life is with the new regime? Thought I'd hear more about a Terry Daniels connection, but it seems like an afterthought. It's early, bro. Him and Terry just got together for the first time yesterday. Relax. I think there's absolutely a shelf life for Terry. Terry is one of those players that I think his game is going to age well because he can make tough catches in traffic. Sort of like a Pierre Garçon. I think his game ages into like a Pierre Garçon type of, game where he can, move the sticks on 3rd and 6 with a 7-yard catch, and just be that kind of physical chain moving receiver when he may lose a step. But I think that Terry is going to be phenomenal in this offense because I know of a lot of receivers that went to Arizona and had career years under Cliff Kingsbury. As a matter of fact, Damiere Byrd, who we just signed today, had a career year in terms of receptions under Cliff Kingsbury. So Hollywood Brown had a career year in terms of receptions. And I don't know if he had, the yards. He may have had yards and receptions, a career year. I think he had a 1,000-yard season in Baltimore. So I think it might have been a career year in receptions, and may have even been touchdowns too. But he did some really good things, right, with the receivers that he had in Arizona. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins was putting up numbers under Cliff Kingsbury. I'm talking about numbers, right? So I think Terry's going to get the rock. So I do think his shelf life is going to be pretty good. Pretty good. Joshua Myrick, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being the newest member of the MOBB. Joshua, who writes, what's good, Lou? Got any free agents we should pursue? Nah, I think you're good for now, right? You go into camp with what you have, and then you see how everybody performs, and then off of the strength of that and the preseason work, you then go and you reassess your roster, and you look at what you can potentially pick up when teams start discarding their players. That's where we are, right? I don't know if we'll have a complete 53-man roster that you feel great about that doesn't need an addition or two from a team that has discarded players. Remember when Ronald Rivera and company first got here and we were poaching other teams' rosters? When the Cowboys cut John Ridgeway, we snatched him up. When the 49ers cut the cornerback from Penn State, we snatched him up, right? Like, that's the kind of time we're going to be on, is we should be looking at other teams, scouring their trash heap and seeing what players they cut. You could see a 5th or 6th round pick that didn't make somebody else's team get cut, and we snatch them up and sign them here in Washington. I think that's the type of time that we're going to be on, because I can't imagine us having a roster where you feel great about all 53 guys. I think there'll be 3 or 4 guys towards the tail end of the roster where you're like, man, we could really upgrade over that player, right? So right now, though, you don't need to do that, right? Because there's not a lot out there to be had. So you just kind of see what you have. You've done a great job of kind of building up the roster and getting it to a point where you feel like you can compete at a relatively high level, right? Now, let's see what it looks like when you start to put the pieces in place. Figure out the 5 offensive linemen. Figure out what your D-line rotation is going to look like. Figure out how you're going to use Jamin Davis. Figure out how you're going to use Frankie Louvu, right? Figure out what you're going to look like at corner, how you're going to deploy those corners, who's starting, who's coming off the bench. Same with the safety position, right? Once you figure out all of these pieces, figure out who's your fourth tight end, right? You feel like the first three kind of feel preordained. Who's the fourth tight end if you're keeping the fourth tight end? Who's your third running back if you're keeping three running backs, right? You're keeping four running backs, then it's a different, discussion. But Chris Rodriguez doesn't have to be here, right? So I think you figure out all of that stuff, and then you go from there. And I think once they do that, then you can start to look around at other rosters, see who's been cut, and see if anybody is a good fit for your team, right? For this team in particular. 1-6 Devil Doc. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. 1-6 Devil Doc. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. 1-6 Devil Doc writes, great job as always, Lou. I appreciate you, 1-6 Devil Doc. Did you see more episodes of X-Men 97? If you haven't, you may need a podcast therapy session when you do. You're the GOAT. Like I said, I've gotten through the first 3. I'm on episode 4. And I'm already a little distraught as Storm has... Spoiler alert. Let me first say that. Let me just shut up. Because I got to the X-Men 97 game late. So I'm pretty sure there are others who haven't gotten to it yet, and I don't want to spoil it for them. So I'm just going to shut my mouth. And I may need some therapy sessions. I may need them. Please don't tell me Jean's going to lose her baby. Don't say that to me, okay? Don't do that to me, bro. Anyway, I digress. Red Wing 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, late buy aside, I like this schedule. Not the easiest, but not the hardest either. Perfectly put. Not being thrown the gauntlet this time, good test for this team. Agree with every single word of that super chat. That is exactly my sentiments to a T. Pun intended. You're going to find out a lot about this team through this schedule. I talked about the quarterbacks, how the schedule's set up, 4 out of 6 to start on the road, some tough games, some winnable games. We're going to find out, just what this team is made of. Some games you'd like to think that we should be able to get, but again, we'll see what these teams end up being. But are we going to be the type of team like we were under the Rivera era where, anybody can beat us at any time because we're not disciplined enough to take care of business against the lesser teams in the league? One thing, you can say what you want about Dallas. You can say whatever you like about the Cowboys, but the one thing that they rarely do, and I'm not telling you they don't ever do it. They lost to Arizona last year, okay? I'm not telling you they almost lost to Houston a couple of years ago when they sucked ass, all right? I'm not telling you they don't lose to teams that they're not supposed to lose to, but rarely do they lose to teams that they're not supposed to. And normally they don't just beat those teams, they usually throttle those teams, okay? They make an example out of teams like Indianapolis. Remember that year they scored like 28 points in the fourth quarter against the Colts and beat them like 55, 56 to like 17. That game was like 24 to 17 in the fourth quarter, and they exploded for like 28 points in the fourth quarter. They don't just beat those type of teams. They usually destroy those kind of teams. And the Giants, what they did to them last year twice. What? Are you kidding me? Hell, what they did to us last year twice. Like, they usually devour those types of teams. That's a mentality. That's a mindset. I'm looking to see if we have any of that instilled in these players, right? It's not the easiest schedule, but it's not the hardest. The only reason this is not a tough schedule, the toughest schedule, is because we play the NFC South. That balances the schedule out for us, right? Our division, while it's not, our division is a microcosm of our schedule. We're not the toughest division, but we're not the weakest division either, right? You still expect Philadelphia to be really good. You think Dallas is still going to be really good. You're not sure about that. Like last year, we knew the Cowboys were going to be good. There was no if, ands, or buts about it. This year, you're not sure, but you still feel good about Dallas. You think they're going to probably be a playoff team, or at least sniffing around the postseason, right? Don't know about the Giants, don't know about the Commanders, right? So not sure about the division. It's not the best division, but it's not the worst. This is not the toughest schedule, but it's not the easiest schedule either. And it's going to be a really good test for this team. I agree wholeheartedly. Maurice Amos, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Maurice writes, do you see Jamin Davis starting at DN? No, I don't. Jamin Davis is a linebacker. They're not going to put him at defensive end. His best qualities and traits are with him standing up and, using his athleticism to move around the football field, whether that's in a blitzing capacity or covering a tight end or running with a running back out of the backfield. They're going to find ways to utilize Jamin Davis, but one of the things he won't be doing is putting his hand in the dirt and playing as a defensive end. They've got plenty of guys to do that. So no, I don't see him playing defensive end at all, Maurice. Josh Gates, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Josh writes, is it me or does it seem like we play the Bears and Falcons every year and always have a late bye? Also, is Dax Milne still on the roster? LOL. Yes, technically, Dax Milne is still here. Technically speaking, yes. There's no way in hell I see two white receivers who have a similar skill set making this team. Luke McCaffrey is much more athletically gifted than that of Dax Milne, but they're similar receivers. There's not enough space for two of those types of receivers. We're not the New England Patriots. So only room for one of those guys, and that guy's going to be Luke McCaffrey. Again, Dax Milne was a 7th-round pick. He's out of here, right? But technically speaking, yes, he is still on the roster. As far as the Bears and the Falcons, yes, it seems like we play them every year. You know why? Because we finish last in our division every year, and so do the Bears and the Falcons. So no matter who we're playing divisional-wise, you're always going to play teams that finish the same place that you finished in your division in their division. So because we're playing the NFC South this year, we were going to play the Falcons anyway, right? Because we played the NFC North 2 years ago, we were going to play the Bears anyway. So while the Bears may not have finished in last place, or we may not have finished in last place, right, the previous year. So for instance, 2020, we won the division. The Bears didn't win the division in 2020. So technically speaking, we would not have played the Bears that year, but we played the NFC North in 2021. So you played the Packers, Lions, Bears, and the Vikings, right? So we played the Bears that year. We did finish in last place in the division in 2021, if you recall. That was the year all three teams, except for us, made the division, right? Or the entire division except us made the playoffs. So we finished in dead last. So did the Chicago Bears that year. So we played them in 2022. Guess what? The Bears finished in last place again in 2022, and we finished in last place in the NFC East in 2022. So guess what? By virtue of that, we played the Bears again in 2023. Well, this year, we finished in last. The Bears finished in last as well in their division. However, we play the NFC, or excuse me, we finished in last, they finished in last, so we're playing the Bears yet again. Okay, so that's how that works. That's why we play the Bears every year, because we keep finishing in the same spot that they finish in, which is dead last. Now, for the Falcons, it was the other way around, right? The Falcons, we played the Falcons in 2021. No, we played the Falcons in 22, 23, and 24. We're going to play them in 24. We played them in 2020. If I'm not mistaken, let me think. No, we didn't. So 2022 was the J.D. McKissick body surfing game that we won. And the reason we played them that year is because we played we finished last place in the division, and so did the Falcons. That's the year they drafted Kyle Pitts. So they were awful that year. So that's why we played them in 2022. Yeah, because Kyle Pitts was a rookie in 2021. So they finished last place. I believe they finished in last place in 2021 because we did. And by virtue of that, no, we didn't finish in last place. I think the Giants finished. Nope, that was the year everybody. No, 2022 was the year everybody made the playoffs. So yeah, we finished in third place, I believe, in 2021. I think the Giants finished in last place that year, if I'm not mistaken, because that's why they fired their coach. Did they fire their coach after? Yeah, because Joe Judge was their coach in 2021, right? So they fired the Giants. Were dead last. We were in third place. So were the Falcons in 2021. So that's why we played them. Then we played the Falcons in 2022 because that's why we played them in 2021 because we both finished in third place. 2023 we played them because we both finished in last place in 2022. And the same thing can be said this year, but the difference is we played their division, so that's why we played them. So yes, we just keep finishing in the same place essentially as those teams, and that's what keeps giving us an opportunity to play these teams. It feels like every year. Anyway, it felt like I said a lot there and said nothing at the same time. I felt like I was talking in circles, but you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. Anyway, that's going to do it for the schedule release. I think this is a doable schedule, ladies and gentlemen. I like this schedule, just like Red Wing 01 said very eloquently, late buy aside, and I'll read it one more time. This kind of sums up my feeling here. Late buy aside, I like this schedule. Not the easiest, but not the hardest either. Not being thrown the gauntlet this time. Good test for this team. You know, the division games are somewhat spread out, right? 2 early, 2 in the first 9 weeks with the Giants. Then you got 2 right in the middle of the season, as you're heading towards the end of the season with the Cowboys and Eagles or Eagles and Cowboys in respective weeks 11 and 12. And then you finish up the season with the Eagles in 16 and the Cowboys in 18. So, the Eagles in 16, Cowboys in 18. So the division games are kind of spread out a little bit. Start out a little rough and rocky on the road, but it all evens out, right? So got that little pocket from week 7 to 9 that gives you a shot. If you're serious about trying to have a season, there's your opportunity. Lots to like about this schedule. We'll see if the Commanders are able to take advantage of all of the opportunities placed in front of them. I wonder what game they're going to select for Darrell Green to have his number 28 retired. That's a question that I ask. Now that we know the schedule, we know when we play who, when will they decide to honor Darrell Green and retire his number 28 jersey? What game on the season will that be? If you're watching this on playback, leave it in the comment section. What game do you think they're going to retire, or you think they should retire Darrell Green's 28? We know they're going to do it this year. When is the question? We'll see what game they select. For nostalgic purposes, I personally think they should do it against the Bears. One of the most iconic plays in Redskins history, playoff history, is the Darrell Green punt return against the Bears in 1986. If I were them, I'd probably do it against the Bears. We'll see what they decide to do. But anyway, I digress. C-Trill, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, next call-in show. And what was your last Washington game you went to? Don't know when the next call-in show will be. But I'll do one over the summer. I'll definitely do one over the summer. But I stay away from call-in shows because as much as I want to be an asshole, I'm not one. I try not to be, at least. And people don't follow the rules. So try to stay away from the phone lines. But I can do one. It won't kill me to try to do one. And the last game I went to, it's been a while, man. Yikes. Man. Damn. Has it been that long? I think I've been to other games more recently than I've been to Commanders games. I think the last game I went to was in 06. I think. Yeah. I think that's the last game I went to. It's been a long time. I didn't realize it'd been that long. I've had so many tickets pass through my hands, and that's the last one that I've gone to. Yikes. But yeah, it was the 06 game against the Giants, the final game of the season. It was played on a Saturday night. And it took us like 7 hours to get home, it felt like. It probably wasn't that long, but it took us forever to get home. I just remember saying, man, I can't do this shit again unless we're good. The stadium sucked. It was cold as shit. And we didn't get our asses kicked, but Tiki Barber kicked our ass, if that makes sense. I think he went off for like 240 yards. I want to say that was his last NFL game. Boy, did he shred us. Yeah, I think that was the last game I went to. Anyway, I digress. I think you could do it against the Bears. If you want real, like, nostalgic feel, you'll do it against Dallas in week 12, I think. That would make even more sense just because of who they are. But I could see them doing it against the Bears too. Whatever, you know what would be the best time? Whatever they make alumni weekend this season, whatever that weekend is, when you're going to have all of those ex-players back in the building. And these alumni weekends are really going to be a sight to behold now because Daniel Snyder is no longer here. And so many of the older players now have been welcomed back into the fold. These alumni weekends are really going to look like they're supposed to. That's the weekend you want to honor him, right? When you got all of the guys that he played with back for a weekend, that's when you want to do it. So whenever alumni weekend is, that's when they should honor Darryl Green and retire his number. That's when I would do it, at least. But, we'll see what happens. Mr. Ron B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Mr. Ron B writes, OG, triple OG, Mr. Ron B writes, number 28 will be retired at the Dallas home game. Green got things started with his, you're right about that rundown of Tony Dorsett. So it brings it full circle. You're right about that. Was that his rookie season, 83? I think that's what put him on the map and made a name for him. That 83 season, Dorsett was viewed as one of the fastest players in the NFL. And Dorsett had about a good 7 yards of separation on the rest of our defense as he's running down the sidelines. And Darryl Green comes out of nowhere from the opposite side of the field and runs him down. It's one of the most incredible chase down tackles that you'll ever see. Darryl Green had a habit of doing that, though. He chased down Eric Dickerson, too. And at that time, I don't know if Bo Jackson was in the league then or not, but at that time, Eric Dickerson was probably the fastest running back in the NFL. And he chased him down, too. And ED, anybody that knows about Eric Dickerson, ED could flat out fly. I ain't talking ED with the Colts or the Raiders at the end of his career. I'm talking ED with the Rams. That Eric Dickerson, the one that rushed for 2,105 yards. That Eric Dickerson. That record still stands today, by the way. That Eric Dickerson. Somebody's going to end up breaking that thing, though, now that they keep adding games. That's one of those records that if somebody breaks it in a 17 or 18 game season, I guess it's easy to say, no, I'm not going to, respect it. But O.J. Simpson set the record for the most rush yards in a season. He was the first guy to rush for over 2,000 yards. He did it in 14 games. So when Eric Dickerson broke his record, he did it in 16 games. So it's easy to say what you should or shouldn't do, but records are made to be broken. They add more games. It'll just be the same way Eric Dickerson broke O.J. Simpson's record. So whatever. Anyway, I digress. I think that's a great point, Mr. Ron B. That'll bring it full circle. His career started, and kind of was put on the map with that iconic chase down tackle of Tony Dorsett. I think it's only fitting that he end his career in the same manner. You're right. Abel Ambrosio, my guy, Double A, been a member for 18 months, who writes, damn, Lou, 06 was the last time you went to a Washington game? I think so, yeah. I keep trying to find a more recent game that I went to, but I think it might have been 06, man. I keep trying to rack my brain. I mean, I've been to Falcons game. I've been to I think I've been to a Ravens game since then. I've been to other stadiums. I've been to FedEx now since then. I've been to FedEx as recent as a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. But for a game, I think you got to go back to 06, man. Yeah. I know that's wild. I didn't realize it had been that long until somebody actually asked me. If that is, in fact, the last time I've been, then yeah, it's pretty crazy, actually. But if we're good, I'm probably gonna make my way to a game. But I'm waiting for the new stadium. But at this rate, I'll be waiting for another decade. So that's probably, we just need to just get good, and I'll make my way to a game eventually. Just get good. I'll find my way to one of these games. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up, take command, schedule, release. Wow. Another week 14 bye. Didn't see that coming. Didn't see Cincinnati on a Monday night in week 3 on the road. Didn't see that coming. And didn't see 4 out of 6 to start the season on the road. But this is a pretty doable schedule if this team is what I think they're going to be. And above all else, I expect this team to be a well-coached, physical, ferocious, flying around the field defense. This is what I've asked for. Go watch that Bears recap again, right? After we lost to the Bears. And one of the things I kept regurgitating is I just want to see one of these defenses that flies around. And I always bring up Dan Quinn. I would always bring up Dallas's defense, because when I think about defenses that attacked like with that pack mentality, like a bunch of rabid dogs who or a bunch of wolves that rolled in a pack, or hyenas, I would think about, Dallas's defense, because they would swarm. They would swarm. Now that's here in Washington. And they've went and got a lot of the pieces that are necessary to make that defense move the way that they want it to move. I'm excited. So that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. You guys get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll be live tomorrow night for the LouieTeeNetwork podcast. Got a special guest. Hopefully you'll be able to join me tomorrow night, as we'll go through the schedule for the entire NFL, look at the primetime schedule, do all of the things that we do with the schedule. We'll be doing that tomorrow night and then some. Until then, you guys have a good one. Take care. God bless. And good night.